Good afternoon and welcome to the Day After Podcast, a sub-show where we watch things and then discuss them. On today's episode, we are doing a episode-by-episode breakdown of Charlie Brooker's Black Mirror, which premiered in late December 2011.
We're watching it on Netflix. I don't know if that matters.
I don't think it matters at all. I think it's primarily on Netflix.
Okay.
You have to get your wife. You have to earn husband points before your wife will watch this with you.
No. Okay, so it's no secret I'm not near as a fan of this as John is. But I think there's interesting points to discuss. And when you love someone, you discuss those points. And you watched The Tudors with me a few years ago.
Yeah, so here we go. There's not a lot of background to discuss. Charlie Brooker wanted a modern era Twilight Zone, because when you go back and look at the Twilight Zone, the stuff they wrote stories about were stuff that they were worried about, which was
the Russians,
which was primarily Cold War stuff. Lots of stuff about nuclear fallout and the dangers of nuclear energy and who might possibly be a communist spy.
Yes.
And it was pretty much, what advances should we be worried about, or could we be worried about? And that's why it centers very much on technological advances.
Yeah. So it's essentially just not a horror, but a show about the possible dangers of technology in our not so far away future.
Yeah, and I'm excited about this because I enjoy well written. I don't want to call it high sci-fi, but maybe we'll kind of zero in on that as we get going here. But thank you for joining me on the ride. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So should we just dive right in?
I will dive right in. The National Anthem is a pilot that maybe doesn't describe the show that it's doing, because I feel like a lot of people have said that when you're discussing, when you describe the plot of the National Anthem to somebody, they're like, really? You're leading with that?
Really?
The National Anthem involves fictional Prime Minister, I forgot his name.
Mr. President Man.
It involves fictional Prime Minister Michael Kahlo, who, in order to retrieve a kidnapped Princess Susanna, is tasked with having sex with and then televising a live sexual encounter with a pig.
Did we mention, by the way, that this early stuff is British?
Yes, so the first two seasons were British, and then it was, I believe, taken over by an American production company.
Okay.
I'll tackle that when I get to it. I want to do a little more research before I get into
that.
Right,
I'm just saying that, the kidnapped princess, that has more, it makes more sense in the world of Great Britain than it does in America.
Oh, certainly, yeah. No, I assumed that it was obvious by Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Okay,
but other countries have prime ministers.
This one sticks out to a lot of people because it is the only episode in the series that, because of the lack of technology, could conceivably take place today.
Yeah, so I may go... I want to say this with reservations. I may call this my favorite episode of early Black Mirror.
Okay.
Simply because it makes me super, super squicky without feeling like I got a gotcha, which we'll get to some of those episodes.
Well, there are gotcha, and I think that when we watch movies like The Mist, we came to an understanding that we thought we were fighting about, but turns out we just had different ideas. The problem with The Mist is that I thought she disliked it because it was an intensely downer ending.
No.
Turns out she disliked it because it was an emotionally manipulative, but she didn't see that sad thing coming.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this later, but Black Mirror consistently does that, and I have problems with it. But this is really, really good.
Yeah, okay, so
it's super feel bad. It's hard to watch.
It's feel bad because I think the reason it doesn't trick you is because it's forthright within the first 7 minutes what is being asked of him.
And it is constant reinforcing there is no other way out of this. And it's got all this trying to dodge the problem, trying to solve the problem, and it doesn't go away.
I do appreciate the Prime Minister's attempt at simultaneous the trying to find the terrorist is one thing, and that's fine. I appreciate they're looking how to get out of this, by digitally photoshopping his head onto a male sex performer.
Which has problems. Isn't that when he gets the finger sent to him?
Yeah, well, I told you, but that's what makes this really horrifyingly legitimate to me, is because the things that the specific, you can pause it and you can look at the specifications that the kidnappers have sent about what this broadcast needs to entail. They're very specific, like, TV studio broadcast regulations to make it as difficult to fake as possible.
And the hardest part to watch about this episode, at least for me, is, of course, the public's reaction to this. It turns into this YouTube comment, Facebook trolling kind of, oh, isn't this so silly? And it becomes what you would expect internet culture to do with just the sentence, Prime Minister fucks a pig.
Well, it's easy to, it's easy for word. It was designed as a way to get around, for that word to get around as quickly as possible.
Right.
And it turns out, spoiler alert. By the way, guys, skip around in the description. There's a list of the episodes if you want to skip something you haven't seen or don't want spoiled. By the way.
No, why wouldn't you watch these in order?
I don't know, but anyway, it was done. This was done by an avant-garde artist who wants to point out that people are too concerned with, I think, media consumption?
Yeah, something like that. Or just internet culture in general, I think, is what he's mainly critical of. And this has an absolutely brilliant payoff when he actually goes to, spoiler alert, do the thing.
Yeah.
People are horrified.
Yes,
and they're disgusted.
It's all jokes and laughs, like, I'm going to take a picture and he's going to be fucking a pig. And then it happens, and you're like, oh, this is real. And I think that I don't call them idiots, the public, in this episode, because like it was all fun and games as long as you thought wasn't really going to happen.
Yeah, it was all fun and games as long as it was fun and games, and that seems redundant. But we often very rarely take things that we consume, generally the media that we consume and that we take part in, really seriously, even when we should.
Yeah.
So that's probably I like that this is the pilot, because for me, especially for early Black Mirror, that might be their strongest episode.
The meme tagline for this episode is, "Come for the pig fucking, stay for the good writing." "15 Million Merits" is a really solid episode that is boistered by something that is out of its control, namely that the main character Bing is played by Daniel Kaluuya, who many years after this will go on to play the male lead in Get Out by Jordan Peele.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was him.
And my headcanon is that he was so good in this episode, Jordan Peele was like, I want him. Come here.
I thought your headcanon was this guy from the future traveled to a different universe of which Get Out takes place.
No, Daniel Kaluuya is a black Britishman? What's the colloquial term?
Well, he's black.
He's a black guy with a British accent, excuse me. He plays Bing in this dystopic, what is it?
Well, it's a futuristic world
where a very thinly defined energy crisis leads most people's jobs to be involved with running on a stationary bicycle.
Yeah. So pedaling on the stationary bicycle, you are told powers this facility and this world in which you live. And the miles that you travel are turned into currency called merits.
Yeah, hence the name. This is really good set design and world building.
Yes.
Well, world building second, set design first. Jesus.
Well, the set design leads into the world building. You understand what's going on without the writing needing to tell you that.
There are these parking garages full of these things.
Yeah.
And it's a very monotonous, but it's not. I hesitate to call it a dystopia because these people are fairly well taken care of, despite the fact that they have like a screen on every wall of their apartment.
And that is kind of what I like about what I like about Black Mirror. It's never post-apocalyptic.
There are post-apocalyptic episodes.
Yeah, and there are but in early Black Mirror, there's not so much.
It doesn't feel to wring tension every episode out of the world being a shithole.
Yeah, or the world exploded because humans are greedy.
It's certainly concerning, yeah.
So this guy has extra merits because
his brother died, and he inherited 12 million merits from his brother.
Yeah, and he wants to give them to this girl to go on this super special American Idol pastiche.
Which, by the way, holy shit, they slaughtered that show.
Yeah, so this is my favorite episode to watch because it criticizes something that I already have problems with.
Oh my god, dude, they did not pull back. It's a very thinly Got Talent series.
Yeah.
Which was, I guess, produced by Simon Cowell, but it's got the same... It feels very 1984, where they're taking silly things like drinking a weird milk, but it's got the same bare bones structure, and they're not here to take Got Talent down a peg in this episode. They're here to tackle bigger themes, but while I'm here, fuck that series.
Yeah. And so this is my favorite episode to watch. I think National Anthem might be a stronger episode overall, but this is quite enjoyable. And you get to see this girl who's a good singer kind of get chewed up and spit out by the system.
Ooh, that's upsetting.
And what squicks me the most, and every Black Mirror episode has a squicky moment. What squicks me out the most about this episode is the fact that no matter what you are doing, you have to be watching TV. That
is, in some respect, you're being held hostage, and that is upsetting.
Yes.
And I think that because you have to be watching TV, I wouldn't call this bad writing, because I think that as a result of you having to be consuming media at all times, you have that's why the kind of the dickhead Scotsman next to him, or Irishman, I can't remember, is always watching that fatty obstacle course show, and he thinks it's the funniest shit in the world.
Yeah, by the way, the people who choose not to ride the bikes anymore become janitors. And they're fat people.
That's not here nor there. I don't really care about
but
that.
it's this thing of we're generalizing these people. It's further reinforcing why you have to do this.
Okay.
It's a very subtle society that they live in, which I think is fascinating.
They slaughtered that fucking show. Like, inside and out, I was very impressed. But I find the self-referential irony of the final scene really upsetting.
Yeah.
That if you're here, Daniel Kaluuya's character Bing not breaks on, he goes undercover into Hot Shots is what it's called, and when he's doing a dance to try to illustrate that he might this might actually be a talent, he picks up a shard of glass and threatens to kill himself if he doesn't get broadcast network style.
Yeah.
As if he's shouting to the world, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. There's definitely shades of that 1970s movie in there.
Yeah, and so he delivers this big speech, and the judges love it and give him his own podcast, in which he rages about the government for other people's entertainment.
That's what's so upsetting, is that his facade, they've taken the gimmick is that he's gonna kill himself, and that is gonna run thin so fast.
Yeah.
But the part is that it's like when you read dystopic novels, the variety where the main character gets crushed.
Yeah.
Here he crushed himself. He
kind of just went along with it.
It's like, I'm not really upset with the system. I just want a better lot.
What upset me the most about this episode, that podcast is whatever. He learns he has to become a cog in the wheel. That's fine. What bothers me the most about that episode is when the girl he tried to help achieve her dreams becomes a porn star. And because he gave her all his merits, he can't turn the TV off.
Oh, that sucks.
And he is forced to watch this girl get degraded. And
oh, stop it! And you
that's the worst part for me.
That's upsetting. This was an upsetting show. Sorry.
But it doesn't really go anywhere. It's just played for shock value.
Oh, it is played for shock value.
And I don't get why it's there.
Because once she goes on the show, you don't see her again.
Yeah, except for there.
It's like Spring Breakers, though. Like when somebody gets on the bus, you don't see him again.
Yeah.
That's upsetting. The entire history of you is the first episode in what I would call a Black Mirror subgenre of we got cameras in our eyes.
Oh.
That take...
There's a lot of those.
There are a lot of those, and that was one complaint when I was chugging this last year, is that there's a lot of those setups. This is the first one, back when it was still British produced, it was a very dry situation where people can relive past experiences that have been recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And this man's slowly more nagging feeling that his wife is not telling him something that probably she should.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also a lot of episodes that deal with cheating.
Well, that's just a propagation, I think, of human nature, I guess. But
and it's just cheating is the one thing that comes out when every single of your life is documented through your eyeballs.
And that is fun, yeah. And I think that we talked about this during the episode, and I think this is when we started gelling as a couple watching this. Is that this man cannot forget, and that's upsetting.
Yeah, you can't, in this world, you can't let things go. You can't turn things off. In a kind of similar way to 50 Million Merits, but, yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if I can't get this correct when it comes out of my mouth. Some of these episodes, these early episodes, are not meant for a twist to happen. In this case, finding out that she really did cheat on him in his bed.
Mm-hmm.
They're not meant for you to go, oh, therefore your actions are now justified. They're meant for you to ask yourself as a viewer, how much has your opinion changed given the fact that the ends now justify his means?
And yeah,
they don't have to. You can say like, oh, they haven't, or no, they do, but it makes you think.
Well, and I think kind of more and more with as we get into the end of those early seasons, it becomes more of, oh, isn't this technology horrible for peoples?
The best episodes you could kind of see where this technology would bring itself up, because in the not the cold opening, because everything takes place after the theme song. In the opening, you see him like running back football tape of his interview and wondering whether he did well.
Yeah, and obsessing over those little details. That's something people do anyway. And like, oh, what if we turn that up to 11? I feel like I'm being unfair. I don't like the I recordy episodes. They generally fall flat for me.
There are more of them, so sorry. But they at least are deal with different themes, almost Kubrick style. Like, this is the only, like, infidelity one. Not the only infidelity one.
I was gonna say, no, it's not.
Okay, but we'll get there. It's very cut and dry. It's not like 15 Million Merits where there's such lavish set dressing. It's a very restrained, like a marital drama.
And in that respect, I almost kind of get bored with it, because it's not really saying anything that hasn't been said.
Well, I've said, I'm no expert here, the best Black Mirror episodes are using technology to extrapolate and kind of deconstruct what humans do and the human nature that we have.
Yeah.
I can't think of very few episodes where human nature is where the technology itself is the function.
Yeah. I mean, using technology to explore human nature, that's fine, but there's a lot of episodes, especially with everything was recorded via my eyeballs, where the technology kind of gets then in the way of the human drama. Yeah. And I like it when it's more, the humanity is more affected, not isn't this thing make us feel bad.
It's also the first of a fairly common dystopic trope where he decides to buck the system by cutting his eyeball out.
Yeah.
And that's gross to look at. No, he cut not his eyeball, but he does cut the little grain.
Yeah, the little thing that is recording.
Cuts that out, which leads to a very sad but a very like, okay, it's over now, I can relax. But he's still looking at these really dark places and going, oh, fuck.
And that's a common trope with this. Not that this is a dystopia again, but that's a common trope with dystopias is people want whatever the reader or watcher currently has.
You Right Back had the the warning signs of it being a please don't text and drive Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
But it's just the means to an end, which is the really unhealthy grieving process that technology brings.
Yeah, this
is tough to watch.
Well, yeah, if you've experienced grief, if you've lost a loved one, and I'm talking immediate fan, like somebody very close to you, either a parent or a lover
or a kid.
Number one, be careful watching this episode because it can trigger some very, very upsetting things. This was, as I told John, particularly hard for me to watch, though I like what it does. I like the showing of importance of grief, and there is a way to do it in a healthy way.
Yes. Grief is such a negative feeling, and I would assume nobody really wants to feel grief.
No.
But the relief from grief is presented in this show almost like a drug or a stimulant, in that she didn't want anything to do. Go ahead.
Well, and I would argue in this episode she is not grieving. Grieving is learning how to go on without this person.
Grieving would be not being on this drug that we're about to describe.
Yes, yeah.
Grieving would have been, I'm extraordinarily sad. She is going through some stuff, and that's totally okay.
Right, so instead of grieving, she instead uploads her dead lover, which, yeah, I guess we didn't describe the plot, but we kind of assume you know.
It is it's a company that offers, at first, a general texting, short text message system, where based on looking at your lover's or the deceased's profile or social media presence, they can imitate you to the effect that you have presented yourself on social media.
Yeah, but you have to voluntarily do this. You have to choose to allow it access.
Right, and that extends to, at first, voice chat, and then a full-on absolute boyfriend style clone.
Which nobody knows what that is.
But if you're out, anybody who's watched
absolute boyfriend,
you know what we're talking about. Any of your absolute boyfriends out there, we'll go over it. But
so they mail her a body, and she uploads this thing she's been talking to, and it's kind of like the real person is there, except he doesn't need to eat. Except it's not,
and you get this.
Yeah, and she increasingly discovers that it's not.
It's not the person you put online. It can't. Not that it isn't. It can never be yourself.
No, and simply having emails and because she sends them a lot of stuff, voicemails, emails, pretty much everything that this guy would have ever put down, in any kind of social presence, this thing has. But there is more to you than what you present.
Yeah,
and when you truly care about somebody like she did, she kind of realizes that ending though.
Well, give it just a second, okay? What I like, the casting was a really good choice, and the casting and the writing, number one, more so the writing in terms of Ash, because they've written and casted a smarmy, very flawed character.
Yeah.
Who, when he's told, don't text and drive, it's really bad, he goes, oh, naughty me. No, fucking serious.
Yeah.
Put your phone away. Like, he can never be pressed to take something seriously.
Yeah, which you kind of get, that's how he was before. Like that's how the real Ash was before he died.
Yeah, I'm discussing the real Ash. But
okay.
But the person that he brings up online is a notably more mature, objective, data-driven version of himself, which is why you can never get... I don't want you to ever get this for me in this world.
Well, yeah, no, and that's the argument of the episode.
Yeah, you more than anybody know the value of grieving.
Yes. Well, yeah, and I mean, people go through grief. Everybody goes through grief eventually. It's learning how to do it healthily. But that ending, the ending is the squicky for me.
It is squicky. It's not on the squicky meter. I think it's not super horrible. It's still gross. It utilizes a person's sense that they want a resolution, and this doesn't get one because this guy isn't capable of dying. So she just puts him in the attic with the rest of the pictures.
She won't murder him. Like she cannot completely get rid of this thing that she's created, even though she recognizes that it was a mistake, because this thing, through interaction with her, has become human.
And there's this whole not subplot, but it's a motif about how Ash is always saying, you know, when my sister or whomever died, my mom put all their pictures in the attic, and then the dad died, we put all his pictures in the attic because his mom refused to grieve.
Right.
Just like his girlfriend
is refusing.
And this leads to what the writer here did not pull any punches in saying this is unhealthy.
Yes.
And you're going to watch it be insanely unhealthy.
And Black Mirror is never subtle, let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
It never tries to be.
Okay. That is gross, just that he's up there.
Yeah, and he lives in the attic now.
In the very much, like, he has a mouth, but he still must scream, because that's just his existence now.
Yeah, and, I hesitate to say that he seems happy, because I don't think he knows what happiness is.
He doesn't. Like, he knows how to use exclamation points in, like, Twitter rants.
Right, and he is not afraid of death when she tells him to jump off a cliff. Yeah, that happens, by the way.
He's faking it. You know, that's what's the most upsetting. He's like, this will make her happier if I pretend to plead for my life.
He's like, I am programmed to act like this man. This man does not want to die.
That's upsetting. When I don't know where his emotions are coming from, and oh, that's not good.
And yet you do wonder, how human is he? Would he eventually learn? Because that's the argument that Absolute Boyfriend makes. By interacting with people and developing a conscience, you become human.
Right. After I watched White Bear for the first time, I crawled into bed with my wife and said, "That sucked." And after watching it a second time, I like it more. This is the first like big like out and out discussion we had regarding the themes, but I like it more because I get maybe I've learned more about the background. Anyway, you find out at the end that this woman who's being hunted by people with phones, right? She's being perpetually punished because she filmed and participated in the murder of a very young girl who was kidnapped from her parents.
Yes.
Haley has some talks.
So John neglected to tell you that when he crawled into bed saying, "Oh, that sucked," he said immediately after that might be my favorite Black Mirror episode, until he saw Crocodile.
No, the second time it was better.
Okay.
I hated this episode the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't tell you about what it was about, but I really detested this.
But I don't know. Maybe then you were telling me about the internet really likes this episode or something. I hate this episode.
Okay.
I hate it.
What?
And it's in the same way of The Mist. I'm like, oh, I don't want to feel bad about this. No, if I didn't want to feel bad, I wouldn't be fucking watching Black Mirror.
But here we are.
What I don't like about this, when I told John, or did you want to explain more?
No, go for it.
What I don't like about this, and I told John when I watched it the first time, this doesn't ever feel real. I am sitting there saying, I am watching a TV show right now.
I'm watching caricatures of people who are so bloodthirsty for justice
that this doesn't even make sense. I don't connect with any of these people. I don't see these people as people. They are weird little script notes running around a camera. And it's boring.
Yeah. Let me talk about my biggest problem with this. And it's like a moot point because it doesn't matter, and here it goes. The original draft of this script ended before that twist.
Which I don't like either.
I like that goes from being a middle pack episode to dead
awful.
Dead last.
That's so dumb.
The idea that I'm in this hell where people are watching me with their phones. Guys, welcome to the first episode of What If Phones But Too Much. Just real quick, this one girl on Twitter watched a couple episodes of Black Mirror wanting to know what it was all about, and she came back with a huge rant that goes, "This fucking sucks. Here's why it sucks." And then she came back with another Twitter rant
with
later.
White Bear or Black Mirror?
No, but Black Mirror in general.
Okay.
She watched a bunch of Black Mirror episodes and knowing that there was some hype about it. She goes, "This fucking sucks. Here's some episodes I made up out of with no thought whatsoever." And it's like, okay, it's Christmas and they're texting too much, but it turns out we were the phones all along. And what if iPads were president and we couldn't do that? But then it stops with her going one episode instead of a long paragraph. It's just what if phones, but too much.
But here's my argument here: the technology, in my mind, takes a back seat.
This technology here
in White Bear, it takes a back seat. It's not about this technology. It's not about phones, but too much. It's just these people are using tools. And they had this technology. The technology that's really focused on, that's really futuristic, is this brain wiping thing, which you only see very briefly.
There's flavored little tints of technology in the idea that she filmed a murder instead of. Is she more or less complicit because she filmed the murder instead of taking part in it? That's really not touched on at all.
Yeah. And you had this idea of justice of, is what she did worth this? And I mean, that is that's why we have a justice system. That's why we have juries and things, not fucking theme parks.
Now, you're right, I suppose. Okay. But, this is the equivalent of, and I promise this is a long walk for a long drink of water, hopefully. There was a mental experiment we did in reading class in early high school where we read a short story, and the short story is this guy runs a shop and he's always antagonized by this dick who is really mean to him, but the guy can't read. So to get rid of his problem, he fills a barrel with poison and writes on it, "Danger, poison." But the guy can't read. He goes, "Hey, can I drink this?" And he goes, and so the guy drinks it and dies. And then the teacher, I guess to illustrate some discussion, was like, did he do a bad thing? And the answer is, well, there are various answers, but this is, right, in a similar vein, this is using really hyperbolic characterizations for you to come to a fairly rudimentary conclusion regarding justice, and that is that this character is not learning because you keep wiping her. She is not learning from that what she did was bad.
Right. You have completely fabricated essentially a robot with very little memory and very little identity for you to chase around with your phone.
And that comes fairly dull at first, yeah.
It's stupid. It's people. The people don't act like people.
They don't.
The people who trap her in this, the heads in charge, don't act like people.
Yeah, they're vindictive cardboard cutouts of people.
There's not a single person who raises their hand and goes, "Hey, maybe different idea." But everybody's immediately on board. Nobody questions this.
But there are other ideas of like, is she even the same person if she doesn't have knowledge of this having happened?
Yeah, like and like far and away, like I kind of shoved to the side there. Sorry, she's not learning anything, and your justice experiment has fucking failed. This is stupid.
It struggles from that. Like I guess it's to get you just. It's more like an icebreaker at a workplace environment. Like you're like, what do you guys feel about the justice system? What do you think its role is in society? But we're gonna get there with just gushing over these really generic cardboard cutout people.
It's
I apologize, but it does give us a running joke in the series, which is the white bear logo, which looks like a little alpha.
Oh, okay.
But that shows up a bunch again later in the series. But that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
Waldo Moment gets a lot of crap from people who like to rank episodes of this show online. I would say there are we've turned this on. I said there are very few bad Black Mirror episodes. Crocodile, but this is one of those where, depending on your taste, this could maybe have themes that weren't explored best. This man plays a Triumph the Insult comic dog style character who's a blue bear whose job it is to make fun of people in pop culture. And the popularity of the character grows so much that people want him to run for office to further their career.
Yeah. So eventually it just starts with, let's do something we've never done before. Let's insult this real jackass who's running for a political position, MP, Member of Parliament. And it kind of escalates to, oh my gosh, Waldo is so funny. What if he was president? It's like those people who write in Elmo on the ballot.
That's so anyway. God, I forgot in the 2016 election we put in D's nuts. What bothers me is that well, not what bothers me. Let me back up. What I appreciate about Jamie, who is a very he hates himself to some respect.
Yeah.
A very loathsome individual. Every time it's brought up, hey, he should run for office, he's like, he's not a fucking politician.
Yeah.
I'm not a politician.
I didn't want to argue politics.
And I think what turned you off a little bit to this is that you wanted more about Jamie.
Yeah. I like the questions that Waldo is posing. I like where this episode was going. It didn't ever get there.
It wanted to pose ideas about what is my idea.
Yeah, what is my well in legal ownership, but also what are politics for? And what does it mean to be a politician, and why do we trust politicians to make laws and XYZ? What do politicians actually do, and what kind of people should they be? It's so easy to hate on politicians because they're always out there and they're always trying things and they often fail.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're crazy assholes, but not all the time. Yeah. But like I like so I like those two ideas. Number one, I do want more about Jamie, but I don't want to fault this for not being what I wanted it to be.
It's weirdly short for the two interesting ideas it has.
Yeah.
Give me 12 more minutes. Round it out to a nice hour.
Yeah. It is weirdly short, and so we kind of don't really get to see how well, I mean, we know how Jamie feels about this. He's not into it. He's all depressed. But we don't really get to see, the director step back and go, okay, what would you do here? And Jamie's personal struggle with, what have I created? And is this me? And we also don't really get to see the criticism of politics in general.
Do you care if I take that one?
No, that's fine.
I'm gonna try to be as objective as I can here. Guys, we are filming this in early August. Because of Pixar Sunday, you won't see this until after the 2020 election. That being said, the idea of an ironic campaign candidate takes on a little bit more weight in the 5 years after this episode came out.
Yeah.
It's much more commonplace now than it was, I think, like 8 or 9 years ago when this episode came out. To say, I'm going to do this because I'm not a normal politician.
Yeah.
I'm going to run the country like a businessman and not like a politician. Well, I think to some extent we need politicians.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much going on right now of people.
That was Jamie's argument.
Of people taking in this feeling of disenfranchisement with their political system that jumping on that bandwagon of disillusionment is not itself a position people can get behind.
Yeah. To get on the party of I don't care is the same people in high school who thought it was cool to be stupid. Because what does it matter?
I'm going to vote for Waldo. Okay, what are his policies? Fuck if I know. Exactly!
You guys, it's just a complete, disconnect with how a country and a government is actually run. And even if you don't care, the decisions that you make do affect you.
And are important.
Yes. And to just say you don't care because it gets you likes on a Facebook doesn't make any sense.
What I find, and I was kind of shocked about this when I saw it, is I appreciate that at the end of this episode, almost as an afterthought, you find out that Waldo lost.
Yeah.
And that the man he had been making fun of the entire campaign won the election.
Right.
But what I appreciate is the idea that, okay, yes, they've stolen my creative idea and used it to prop up a fake political campaign. But, yeah, at the end of the day, everybody realized it's just a bear and it wasn't really that serious. And that's like comfort to me.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the people in this...
And what saves this episode for me is the "what are you for" speech. Where he not only is asking that of the politicians, what do you stand for? What are your policies? People would not be getting behind me talking shit about you if they didn't believe that I had a few good points to make. And so this very just question of what do you stand for? And he asked that to the audience as well.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck are you doing getting behind me?
Yeah.
This man who has no idea what he's doing.
And it's... Would I call it the worst Black Mirror episode? No. There are worse ones to come, I apologize. But I can see how this is a little lacking in the themes. I think the worst Black Mirror episodes don't go far enough with their ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, and this definitely suffers from that.
Alright, but
it's still better than White Bear.
Alright, well, good. Thank God we're not ranking these. Goddamn. White Christmas is a de facto Christmas episode featuring 3 interconnected stories about 2 men in an Antarctic cabin, or a very snowbound cabin, who have nothing to do but talk to each other about their lives.
And make Christmas dinner.
And
drink a whole lot of port.
That's okay. But I remembered I was excited going in because I like this episode a lot.
Yeah.
And my wife did. She found a lot of stuff to I remember... Go ahead.
It's interesting. I like, so this is definitely 3 stories, interconnected and tied together with a framework. And I really like the first 2.
Well, let me break it down. Matt, I believe, is John Hamm's character, and Joe is the other guy who doesn't talk a lot.
I thought John Ram's name was Trent.
I will figure it out while we're talking
or is it Mr. Is that his last name?
I will figure it out while we're talking here. But
okay.
What I'm really impressed with this first short is in a technologically advanced world, we are using the ability to see through your eyes to help you pick up chicks. We are wingmen. We are dating coaches in real time, and that feels like it's almost like beat for beat in a horror anthology short from New Year's Day.
Yeah.
From the holiday special.
Yeah.
It was really good. It could almost be an ABC's of Death entry.
Or like a creepier version of Hitch.
That's fucked up what you said.
No, I like that idea. Again, it's a fucking eyeball recordy one, so I'm not gonna be super into it. But I like this idea. I told John, I was like, I wish one of these existed for women, and then I realized, oh no, if this existed for women, it wouldn't be here's how to pick up guys. It's okay, that one's probably a rapist, that one's probably a rapist. That one might be actually kind of halfway safe to talk to.
Oh, I'm sorry. But it's such a that's a very self-contained. It's go, payoff, done.
Yeah, yep. Very nice, concise little story. Well, as is kind of the second one.
Yeah, when you said you talk to people, you talk to people.
Yeah.
Fuck. And that you found that really interesting.
Yeah, I like that. And so this kid that he's helping via eyeball recording ends up hooking up with this crazy girl and getting poisoned to death.
And that's such a fun twist and out. I like that because it's easy to digest.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice little short thing. It's you kind of get the isn't technology spooky? But what he was doing wasn't super moral in the first place.
Right.
So hence, and he throws his computer and everything away.
But more than anything, the show goes out of its way to tell you what he's doing is not okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. It's just a neat, concise idea.
Well, and it's very upfront of like, this is illegal.
Yeah.
What he's doing.
The second short is about, it introduces the technology of cookies, which I find fucking horrifying.
Which I'm calling eggs. Because they look like eggs.
They show up in little Febreze eggs.
They're so cute.
They do look really cute. They're not quite clones because a clone implies the same physical description.
Yeah,
you have
that's fair.
Copy is better, a better descriptor. You have a copy of yourself that you put in, and it's your own personal Alexa. It runs your house and orders groceries and shit for you.
Yes. And
that is fucked up because the person goes, "I didn't ask for this." Well, yes, you did. It brings up really. Go ahead.
Yeah, so to get this Alexa, it records part of your, makes a copy of your consciousness.
Yeah.
And plugs it into this digital thing. It turns your consciousness into code and plugs it into this thing. And that makes you realize, like, how alive are Siri and Alexa. And I won't say Cortana because nobody talks to her. But you do start to wonder, like, and it's... I think this is much more, if we have a robot apocalypse, this is what it's going to take. When these machines are going to learn so much about our habits and stuff that how long until they become us.
What's most upsetting about this is when she begins planning her day after being in solitary for 6-7 months, she's like, I'll make you toast, I'll make you whatever, and then realizing, oh, you know what happens if she just fucks with her again? Well, then she calls into a complaint, and John Hamm comes back in here.
Yes,
and turns you off.
And essentially erases her humanity. What he does.
She has no choice. Go.
And so he essentially locks this woman in solitary. Which, number one, it makes you appreciate what it means when prisoners go in the hole.
That's upsetting.
Ooh. And I like this for the same reason I like National Anthem. I can absolutely 100% see this happening in our world.
Where you don't care about Alexa. Alexa's just a whatever. You can feel detached.
Right. It's like, oh, it's a copy of my consciousness. And I like how when you get back to the Frame story, he even says that. It's like most people would go, she's just code, bunch of numbers, doesn't matter. And the guy drinking port, the other guy, the Joe. British guy, considers this quite barbaric, and of course you as a viewer do too.
Yeah. But John Hamm plays it so cold, and the idea, the casualness with which he turns her off for 6 months is really chilling.
Yeah, and that whole idea of expanding time inside that one little bubble.
So I won't go into what Joe's actual story about this cheating wife, and then but I do want to talk about the blocking technology.
Okay. What? Oh, explain, I guess.
Well, I guess his story about what happened, like going beat by beat through his story, is less interesting to me than this blocking technology, which is it can be kind of high concept for Black Mirror. Like, what if you could block somebody on Twitter but real life?
Oh, okay, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just like the other eyeball one, where where in the other one you could erase memories, and this one you can block somebody, so they're just a pixelated, murmuring blob.
Yeah, and that is whatever, I guess. I mean, they try to downplay it, like just usually after an hour when they're like, I didn't mean what I said, they turn you back on.
You take an entire human and just turn it off, and that's it.
That's an interesting idea.
And it still exists, but you can ignore that because you blocked them.
Yeah, and it's easy not to take responsibility. You didn't respond to this twist very well.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we'll be honest, guys. We cannot watch all of them and then talk about all of them because they're gonna leave our memory. So just for the sake of being clear here, we've only watched up to White Christmas. We just did this a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, and so my biggest issue with this, Black Mirror's starting to get predictable. I found out as soon as he started confessing, I was like, oh my god, fucking John Ram's a secret cop. Son of a bitch.
I wanted to say, ooh, you're eagle-eyed, but I didn't want to give that up.
I'm just like, oh, okay, and he's gonna have some secret technology, and one of the gimmicks from the other ones is gonna be involved somehow, and it's just, once I figured out what was going on, completely my brain turned off. And what's going, I accidentally walked in on John watching the end of this. By the way,
when you kept saying, wasn't there one other time lock thing? I'm like, shut the fuck up.
So I'm like, when John Ram turns back time on the screen, I was like, I've seen that. What is that from?
Baby, just go to sleep.
No, Misa loves light. But I don't. It's just because I saw it, it didn't have the impact.
Maybe, I guess.
And I mean, if you're just. What I don't want Black Mirror to do is I don't want it to lock itself into a formula. I don't want it to be just two people, technology bad, two people happen bad, and we're done.
Well, I'm looking forward to the next six episodes, the 6 episodes you're going to watch after this, and I think only 2 of them have, like, concrete twists at the end. The other 4, like, let's take an idea and take it to its extreme.
Yeah, and that's why I love National Anthem. That's why I love 50 Million Merits. It takes one idea, one setting, and you see that play out as it naturally would have happened. There's no gotcha.
There's no gotcha reveal. Okay.
And there's no, like, I don't hate White Christmas. I certainly have no desire to watch it again because I have no reason to, because I know now every little twist or squicky that is going to throw at me.
I think that it improves on a second watch. Mm-hmm. But this is not your taste, so it's cool if you don't go back.
Right. And I just, again, we'll see what may come. I'm really, really worried about the implications of White Christmas and what it means for the show as a whole, because I have heard people fucking hate late Black Mirror.
That is to be discussed. As we move into Nosedive, I want it to be known that it generally was picked up after 2 series in Britain, a series is, I guess, a season, I found out. It got picked up by an English production company, but we get to Nosedive, I will discuss more about that.
Okay.
And what it kind of meant, but I don't think it suffers a decline in quality.
Okay.
It's different. It's more vibrant, but that's for your own personal taste to decide. Haley, I want you to give your first impression of Bryce Dallas Howard's Nosedive.
Pastel. Holy pastel.
Try it again. Easter.
So this was actually one of the first Black Mirror episodes you ever showed me. Because we kind of started watching them out of order. And I don't know if this season was like new or something when you showed it to me.
Probably at the time, it probably had just launched.
So, I mean, I do like this in that I could see a world where this could totally happen. So I like what I like most is like shows where they take something I know and I'm familiar with and kind of turn that up to 11, just because it is grounded in reality. However, I don't live in like an Instagram world.
Yeah,
or like a Snapchat
my
world.
wife is less connected than I am. Like, it's not a hard bar to clear, but like, No, what I mean is
you have Instagram and Snapchat?
No, I have Twitter and Facebook. But like,
what? You have Twitter is the only thing in that I don't have. Anyway.
Whatever. Okay, but
the hearts and the following and the idea that you would base your entire like career, resume, CV, livelihood on these little likes and things. That's what I don't really buy. But I like the hyperbole that some people do honestly think that way, and it's interesting to see their viewpoint.
I appreciate the immediate cynicism about this world.
Yeah.
And what I mean is, when she wants a house, but it's only she can only afford it if she gets a discount pledged to 4.8s or higher.
Yeah, and her rating has to be that high.
She told us that her actions inform us that there is a what do you call it, a counseling service where they talk about how to get your score up. I'm like, of course that exists.
Yeah, and it's not like cheating. Like there are it's just like they treat likes like credit.
They do.
And that's a very interesting take on it. I don't know that I can say anything about it besides that's interesting.
Honestly, I think it earns it points by showing how cynical it is.
Yeah.
Because while you're watching this, the feeling I get is it's tough to watch, and not in a finger cutting off kind of way, but in like none of this is genuine, and they were going for deliberate awkward and they nailed it.
Yeah, I will applaud this for Black Mirror. When they're going for a certain theme or aesthetic, boy, they nail it on the head. Almost too much so for me sometimes, and I definitely feel that with Nosedive. Again, I think it's interesting to treat this like credit, but is it? I don't know. Do I buy it? Do I like That's my biggest issue. Is I don't like anybody in this episode.
Yeah. Let me just break down some character building.
The brother's stupid.
We'll give it a second, in order, please. Bryce Dallas Howard got really well cast.
Yeah.
I at first I hated her but then I realized I only hate her character from Jurassic World.
And she's a fine actress. She does fine here. I just don't like the character, and I'm not supposed to.
Well, the character, it's like a cringy character, a similar character that she played in Jurassic World, and but I don't know. Do you feel sympathetic for her? Do you want her to succeed?
I don't really care.
You're kind of indifferent.
Worse.
What I don't like is the author's mouthpiece brother.
Yeah. I always hate that, like that one person in the post-apocalyptic scenario, like, oh, this is wrong. The only one that's come to mind right now is 4 from Divergent.
Solid reference.
And I just I hate this lorded over, holier than thou. Our current world is better than the future.
But his frequent unrequested berating of his sister it's considerably lazier writing than Black Mirror is able to pull off.
Yeah.
And I feel like they could have done better with that.
Yeah, and so I feel like watching the main female lead, watching her like fall from grace is kind of like watching Alex's fall in Clockwork Orange without seeing what a fucking shithead he is at the beginning.
Oh yeah, I think part of the reason that Clockwork works, what a weird thing I'm comparing two pieces of fiction. What works with Alex is that you see the fall and you go, ha, na, na, boo boo. That is easy to wall yourself around.
Yeah.
Unless you see him hurting.
Yeah, and like what I see here is, imagine if Clockwork Orange started with the eyeball scene.
Interesting take.
Imagine it started at the beginning of that, where Alex is submitted. We're told he's a bad guy. We're told this, that, and the other thing. And just like here, we see this female struggle with... We don't know why she's not as popular or super awesome as some of these other people.
But I think maybe that's why it doesn't scan, is because we're not told that she's she's not a pariah.
Right, yeah.
She's
we're
trying
given
to gain
no...
like anybody else.
We're given no verifiable reason as to why some people are higher liked than others. Just in the same way, there's no reason why some people are more popular than others.
We just have her as a viewpoint to not save the game. What am I saying? To check the system out.
Yeah, and the view of the system is too narrow for me to really give a shit about it.
here's the thing.
We can't spend 10 minutes on each other.
No, here we go. Let me wrap it up here. I do want to apologize to the female lead, the female not antagonist, her childhood friend who's getting married, who is the one to actually tell her, like, hey, I can't have a 2-6 at my wedding. Oh, but Mr. Rags, fuck, nobody's being genuine here.
Yeah.
I thought you at least knew that.
And that's one of my issues with this and a lot of other Black Mirror episodes. I'm not watching humans. I'm not watching characters.
You're watching ideas.
I'm watching ideas play out, and I'm a humanities major. I don't care.
Okay. In a similar way, I do like the truck driver who bucked the system, but I like her at least better than the brother.
Yeah, she's a better mouthpiece than the brother.
Because she doesn't give advice unsolicited.
Yeah.
She's just here to help.
And she's also not shitting on this lady constantly. She's just giving a point of view, which I like.
She's the Ryuk of this episode. She does not give a shit.
We compared way too many fictions in this.
Okay. Pretty good. Next episode. When I talk about playtest, I could talk about video game history or the idea of virtual reality or augmented reality, but I want to tackle Cooper first. Cooper is a man attempting to get away from his problems, but on a more micro level, Cooper's kind of a doofus.
Yeah.
How do you feel he's different from a normal Black Mirror character?
So before I tackle into those details, I want to kind of look at the episode as a whole. You said something that really struck me with this episode. It's the first horror take in Black Mirror that I've ever seen. Horror in the true sense of the word, in that there is creepy, otherworldly shit coming to get you, and not the fail of humans combined with technology.
I think it's a smart show as a whole. Sometimes it can really benefit, Hated in the Nation, which we'll talk about later, to just step back and not be a think piece for a little bit, and just be a fucking scary thing.
But at the same time, I kind of felt like I like the ideas in this episode. It gets too complicated.
Maybe run through. There's a notorious triple twist here at the end.
Yeah. And I was fine with the first one, whatever. And 2 and 3 were just. I about rage quit the episode.
It's a little frustrating because you're like, get me out of here. And what the cards? It's about. Part of this has a similar energy to like haunted houses where. Not Cooper, because he's said he's not that huge a gamer, so in some ways he's just trying to say gaming things to appease to these people. And he pulls a convincing, not a convincing fake, but a convincing fake. Anyway, this idea of... Go ahead. No.
So I've seen this trope. I can't think of the movie right now, but I've seen this trope before of a character enters video game world. For some reason, I'm picturing the color orange everywhere.
Oh, yeah?
And I've seen this before where somebody gets something installed in their mind and they're transported to a different reality. Again, I like this idea. We are not far from that in our world, and so it's very easy to wrap your head around. And with horror games in particular, there are already people who've been saying that VR horror games are far too real for their comfort zone. So I like that idea, but... Black Mirror always seems to trip over its own fucking feet by trying to be this big highbrow super cool aesthetic piece.
What I enjoy, I don't find this to be a cautionary piece like some of the other.
No, I don't think so either.
And this isn't a catch up. This isn't an instant good episode for you, but it does help.
Yeah.
When you watch these, what we've learned halfway through this is trying to get which episodes my wife likes.
There isn't really a pattern.
Okay, yeah, but we'll kind of tackle on this. I do remember what I was going to say, is that with haunted houses, you're looking for the next big scare, and if your brain knows that you're out of the woods, you stop being able to be frightened. And with the triple giveaway, I think that part of the power of the triple giveaway is that after the second giveaway, and they have to take him out of the extraction point, which is in a door that is it's a motif for his dementia mom.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna open this and my fucking mom's gonna be in there. My brain went, okay, this is scary, but I know storytelling. You wouldn't just give that up right now.
Yeah. Well, and again, the way the triple fake freaks out is once the fake is pulled, I'm like, okay, then I'm done. Like I've already transitioned into falling action. And you try to pull up 2 other climaxes on me, I'm already out. Like, I don't care. I've already disassociated from the plot that's going on.
I'm reminded of the John Cusack movie 1408, which could pull one twist, which is when you think he escapes, and then it turns out he was in there. I think you got to be careful how many times.
I've only seen that movie once, so
you got to be careful how many times you can flip the narrator on.
Right, because again, in their head, a reader or a watcher has already moved on, and I promise I will not summarize every single episode with "I don't care." But Black Mirror tends to bring that part out in me, where it does these things. And again, it's when it's trying to, like, lord itself into saying more than it really is. It's when Black Mirror plays the most with its ideas, and when it's not trying to be a cautionary tale or a forensic art piece, that I really enjoy Black Mirror. And we'll get to those episodes a little bit later. But this was okay. I liked the horror aesthetics. I liked pretty much everything up until the end.
Shut Up and Dance is about a young boy caught in a compromising position, and there's no theming.
Not really. Again, so I mentioned last time, I like when Black Mirror just kind of plays with its ideas instead of lording itself as this super awesome substance of humanity. I really like this. I like this idea.
Interesting.
I like these characters. I like that, holy shit, that characters fucking interact with each other like actual people and humans with emotions. That's really cool.
Holy shit, I gotta get some tequila
I'm
for
sorry,
this salt.
Stanko.
Okay, wow.
No, but it has nothing to do with the fact that the kid is played by the same actor as Bronn from Game of Thrones, who is probably the only redeemable
the older
thing
guy, the older guy.
About Game of
We're
Thrones.
We're not talking about Game of Thrones.
But I do. I like this. Again, it's not it's character interaction, character motivation with a dash of technology. That's what I like about San Junipero, which we'll get to later.
Interesting that technology takes quite a bit of a back seat in that, except for the fact that these seemingly they have quite the reach that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, Black Mirror for me frequently gets caught up in its technology bad premise that the characters are complete hyperboles or fabrications or just not people. They're just meat sacks walking around. These are real people.
Yeah.
They have flaws. They have worries. They have character motivations as to what they're doing. I like this idea of that somebody has hacked into your computer. That's a real worry we deal with. So for me, this is a perfect storm of good character development. Technology takes a slight back seat, and I believe what's going on.
I thought this would turn you off by being fairly upsetting. Like,
that's upsetting, and I don't mind the upsetting. I can handle
because it's like it's a character driven upsetting.
You're right, and I need, if something is gonna squick me, it needs to be humans.
We were filming this around our Pixar podcast series, and I have bitched several times about sad fetishism, about how sad we can be.
Yeah.
I have a similar taste. I do have a taste for I would call it misery porn, where if you earn it, that's really good misery. And there is a scene where he's prepping to rob a bank with a gun he doesn't yet know is fake. That's upsetting because they gave both characters 5 minutes to figure it out, and the older, wiser character is, I'll drive, screw it. And
well,
then
the older, wiser character is the only one who can drive.
Yeah, well, the point is that when the kid can't do it, this other side of the older character comes out and says, "Really? It's a fucking gypsy curse. If that gets out, your life is over. My life's over."
Yeah. The older guy kind of manipulates him into like, oh man, like, oh, that's awful. Even though you realize at the end that this kid's problems are very, very low stakes in comparison to all the other people involved in this game. So I honestly wouldn't call that upsetting. It is upsetting, but it's a very clever tactic. I like the ingenuity there.
Okay.
From the older character.
Yeah.
Because he's a kid. He's easy to manipulate.
It feels like, it definitely kind of feels like a nightmare where you're like, okay, maybe I'll wake up and I won't have to rob this bank. Does the story change when you find out he was masturbating to child pornography?
I kind of had that take a back seat. For me, it doesn't really. I mean, this idea that he was masturbating at all is kind of the thing that carries, and that's what drives the story for most of it. So that's the plot line I stick to.
And it's an interesting.
I don't like the fucking thrown in what a twist at the end. Of was it was kids? Yeah, me too. And then his mom calls. Oh my gosh, you were masturbating to kids. 2 beats does not a plot line make.
You've made me actually consider that, because now I'm wondering what that twist was doing in there.
I have no idea, but I don't pretend to understand most of what Black Mirror does. I
Um,
try to look for the little roses where I can.
You look for the little roses, and I'm here to be your ray of sunshine, everybody. Episode 304 is San Junipero, and I want to apologize to, in general, Black Mirror fans, because this is the last episode I watched in order. I turned it on in my binge of season 3, watched 20 minutes, got bored, turned it off.
Hey Johnny, look, it's humans again.
Instead of...
That's instead of technology bad.
Holy shit, you're gonna hate Metalhead. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, that is interesting, in that it, like Playtest, it takes a very slow burn where you get to know...
Yeah, this is about the relationship between 2 people. And honestly, Black Mirror, if you're gonna be an hour long, I want to see more of this. You need to stop broadening the scope of, like, Facebook destroys the world. Look at you, Nosedive. But instead, concentrate it down to 2 people and their relationship with this one thing. If you have to input technology, their relationship with this one thing. This is really, really... And there's a reason this is the best Black Mirror episode in most people's canon, right?
Oh yeah, it tops many, many lists. The only one that comes close is the episode that we are going to watch in real time after this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the only other one that comes up in contention.
Okay.
What I find the restraint of this episode I find very good, because for the first 25 minutes, your brain goes, okay, where's the technology?
Yeah.
And the script goes, okay, we know there's technology. You know there's going to be technology. It's common knowledge all the way down. Just shut up and listen to these girls for a little bit.
Yeah. And I like how, for most of the episode, a good chunk of the episode, you have no idea what San Junipero is.
Yeah, they keep talking about it.
And they casually mention things that you as an audience are not meant to understand, like how many of them are dead? And
Like,
how long did they stay here?
The first actual hint is when Wes goes, so these people, the locals, they're fucking dead. They look very dead to me.
Yeah, and that's and I love how when this opens, you feel like you know where this is going. Like, oh, this cute little innocent ginger is about to get corrupted by Evil City. And it doesn't go that way at all.
I had no idea where it was going.
And yeah, it's constantly surprising you, turning it on its head. It's very well written. Do I want to go into my single complaint of this episode?
No, I think we have one more stop to make.
Okay.
This is, I'm not saying Black Mirror can't do this, but in terms of our world and things we can talk about, this is fairly tender subject matter.
Yeah, this is the first time we really see a true, healthy, romantic relationship.
I meant less the romantic relationship. Look, here's just a quick stop off. The guy who wrote this, he said that it originally was going to be a straight relationship, but then he found out that making it a girl-on-girl relationship made it instantly more interesting.
I don't like that.
Oh, well, maybe he can put it better than I can. I don't want to speak on the director's
Well, it sounds like you made it lesbian to get views.
No,
which is shitty.
Well, maybe when if maybe you can do that thing, because they're not themselves anyway. They're avatars or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
My point was that it's tender in the way
that... What is yourself, John?
But too much. What if they're... My point is that this is dealing with end-of-life rights.
Yeah.
And technology aimed at coping with end-of-life items.
Which is a hard thing for even normal films to do, let alone a series like this. So I do appreciate the balls it has in tackling the subject matter other than Facebook evil. God, I gotta stop shitting on Nosedive. I'm sorry. My my one single weirdness with this episode is that beautiful, absolutely. What's the one girl's name?
Their names are Kelly and Yorkie. Kelly is an African American woman who you find out near the end of the episode used to be married for 49 years to a man who died and refused to be uploaded into San Junipero because their kid did not have an opportunity to be uploaded to San Junipero.
Okay. So, there's a beautiful, beautiful speech by Kelly, where Yorkie is trying to convince her that San Junipero is the holier option, and her husband of 49 years, when he chose to not get uploaded, was, quote, being selfish, and Kelly just tears into this girl. She's like, you have known me for what? How long do they get at a time? 7 hours?
They get 5 hours per week.
5 hours per week. 5 hours every 7 days.
I mean, comparatively, it's peanuts compared to 49 years.
Right, and she's like, you know nothing about me. You know nothing about him. You didn't even know him. You don't know my marriage. You don't know my child. And she just, it's a very, very good scene. Probably the best single scene in Black Mirror I have seen yet or still.
You wouldn't have to make that hard an argument for that. Yeah.
And yet you had this cute little montage of Yorkie finally approaching the end of her life, getting off life support, and Kelly deciding is she going to go to San Junipero or die. Without seeing Kelly's reasoning of her choice, she chooses to go to San Junipero. And because that's done in montage, you don't see her wrestle with that. It's just like, pretty scene, Kelly looking out the window, Yorkie dying, pretty scene, Kelly looking out the window, Kelly going, I'm ready. It really, really, for me, undermines that gorgeous scene. Not completely.
I'm going to agree that's a really pretty scene. I have a discussion question for you. What would you want put there? Talking to a family member?
I honestly, so I've thought this now. Now that I've watched Hated in the Nation, I'm of the opinion that I would like Black Mirror more if the episodes were longer. I would like a little bit more time. Number one, not to build their relationship, but to discuss Kelly's life and to put more weight behind her decision. Because as it is now, it seems like she just flipped a switch. And just like, I'm not going to San Junipero because these 49 years I was married to this man mean more than these scant hours we've had together, even though they've been very, very happy. And 5 minutes later, she's like, oh, just kidding, never mind.
Oh, your stank is getting to me. Let me point out a couple things. One is that when, in the 5 minutes where you say that more elaboration would have helped that payoff, I'm remembering what Kelly's life is in the real world, and that when you're that age and you're at that end of life stages with no kid and no husband, you have nothing to do but think about that.
Right, but then why tell that by montage? Why not give some of that some real weight in real time?
That's my second question, which is a little more of a nitpicky one. I don't think that qualifies as a montage. I mean, what other items would you show?
I'm not saying I have a perfect answer for you because I'm not the director of this episode. I'm saying, as it is presented currently, that switch seems a little not out of character, but it seems a little quick. It seems unearned.
Okay, I'm gonna pull. I'm just gonna lay my cards on the table. I'm trying my best to be in good faith for the entire series. This is a special one for me because I wasn't ready to get smacked that hard in the head with the ending. So I'm trying to see you kind of halfway.
No, and I want to say this episode is awesome. It's amazing. It's beautifully written as is. It's a joy to watch as is. Easily my favorite episode of Black Mirror, and I know I'm fucking shattering walls when I say that.
Oh, damn.
It's just, when you like something, I feel the need to criticize it. And I think you and I, who have been married 4 years yesterday,
nice,
can't imagine 50 years together.
And I think I'm getting away from your point, and I apologize, but I think part of that is Yorkie's situation, having been a quadriplegic from the age of 21. That if anybody is going to make the mistake of saying, "Oh, I'm as good as 50 years with a husband," it's her.
I don't believe Yorkie is saying that at all.
No, okay, here I am, for the sake of speeding the I went too fast, let me try it again. I think that she is naive enough, having lost control, of having so far away from a normal life for so long, it breeds that naivete.
I don't think Yorkie is saying that at all. I'm sorry to repeat myself, but...
No, but...
Yorkie is not naive. She simply was not given all the information about Kelly's life. Because, again, these are old, aging women. You cannot meet somebody at the age of 80 and comprehend their entire life. And I think it's gorgeous and amazing and beautiful that these two women try anyway. And they form this real, true, and beautifully unique happiness. But do not erase the life that came before that.
Just, somebody had pointed this out, and I like the idea, is that leaving San Junipero, or choosing not to be uploaded in the first place, is suicide. Let's not mince words, even though it's not cutting your wrist or whatever. It's a deliberate decision to end your life, and something that's got to be taken, Go ahead.
I worry that you think I'm making the argument that Kelly should have died.
No, I don't ever, I'm not ever trying to paint you like you're making a normative claim about what a character should do. Okay, I want that to be clear.
Okay. I'm just saying that I like this episode, and again, because I love it so much, I do want to mention that one thing that painted a big red flag in my brain. It did not ruin the episode for me, far from it. It's a minor detail. It's a detail that does not need discussed, but here we are.
One little cute thing I like is that when after they meet and after they and they have that one night stand on the beach, and Kelly goes off to mingle with other people, and Kelly and Yorkie would like to stay and help me out. That has more weight having watched it again, because on the one hand, Yorkie has never experienced life as a normal person and really is scared and struggling for somebody to help. Right. And that is given more context and more appreciation on a second watch. Yeah. On the other hand, Kelly does not want to get romantic because she has lost somebody very, very special. Yes. And doesn't want to be reminded of that. Yeah. Yeah, and that's totally true. And again, I want her past relationship to bear more weight. Again, I feel like, as me watching this as a person in their mid-20s, I can't even begin to comprehend what these women have gone through in the years they've been on Earth. And I want that to be respected. Okay. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying there's this one moment where I worry that it's not given enough weight. Yeah. Just one passing comment, and then we'll get to Men Against Fire, is that here's a reason why this is one of either the most important or the scariest Black Mirror episodes. Black Mirror has a tradition. It's notorious for being sad, dark, really dark, like wow, like first episode fucking a pig dark, very, very dark. What this does is, in an attempt to curb audience-induced apathy, to show you that we can do a happy ending. And that was immensely helpful with my watch of Black Mirror, because we're watching them in order. And to be honest, during playtest, I was half asleep the whole time. Because I have audience-induced apathy with this show hard. I don't get the torture orgasm, the misery orgasm and that this show often portrays. It's not my thing. It's a tough podcast, and I don't mean a difficult to do podcast. I mean, it's interesting because these are there's more back and forth here when we have people with very different opinions on the subject matter. And I hope people who have been watching the Jestour this long know that we have differing opinions. Please don't shit on my wife. Please don't shit on my husband. She watched Wall-E. Here we go. Episode 305 is Men Against Fire. It involves an African-American gentleman who is enlisted with the military. His name is Stripe, and his military in this universe has eyeball implants. One of the 5 episodes in Black Mirror that has eyeball implants.
My favorite!
That allows you to see these monsters called roaches. Turns out, through the help of one of the roaches,
Go on.
through the help of one of the roaches, Stripe has learned that the government's a little fucked up.
Oh no! What are we gonna do, Stripe? Tune in next time on Dragon Ball Z. Okay, so I found it funny going into this episode. You're like, you're gonna hate this. I'm like, really? And I'm like, going into roaches, I was like, Jesus Christ, if this is a Kafka metaphor, I swear to God. And I'm like, nope, just kidding, it's Nazis.
I did not. It's a valid reading that I didn't pick up on the first time. Haley has this idea, and I'll let you explain it.
It's a reading. It's an interpretation. I don't know. This whole time I'm like, oh, this is Nazis finding Jews. Sweet.
That's what the government has made them. The government has made you Jews.
No, the government has made these people to seem like they're not people, and we're gonna mark them out a certain way using our eyeball implants.
I thought you were gonna hate it because it's really blunt.
It's very blunt to the point of being ridiculous, and that's why I love it.
Keep going. I need more information.
So, okay. Number one, instead of grounding this in reality, it's grounded in history. Again, with the Nazi reading. I've only seen this episode once, and when I watched it, I'm like, oh, this is Nazis, perfect. So it not only has it doesn't have a reading based in reality, it's a reading based in history, which I really, really like. Not that Nazi Germany is the only people to do this, not that Nazi Germany thinks that a certain race or color or section of human society is absolute garbage and should be squashed like cockroaches. But this is a thing that has happened several times, sadly enough. And I like this idea that it's not like, oh, isn't this awful and horrible? And I also like this idea of focusing technology within the military. If you study history, especially if you study historical wartime, you see that the military, especially the United States military, does not have to be efficient. So when new amazing technology gets made, like computers, like GPSs, like cell phones, it comes to the military first.
Oh, keep going. This is interesting.
So when you have these eyeball implants that can magically erase PTSD, which as somebody who has dealt with PTSD on a very, very real level, I'm like, holy shit! I'm kind of amazed. I'm like kind of amazed and horrified. It is no surprise to me that like the military is the one to develop this first, and so this is a very, very. I feel like I'm using believable as a curse word. But it's rooted in a historical topic. It's rooted in something that's actually happened, and therefore it's far more believable for me. And it involves a development of technology in a very, very realistic way of it coming to the military first, and a nation prioritizing its military prowess, and for us as people who live in the United States is very, very relatable.
You've helped me stumble upon something that I appreciate is that it's refreshing that Black Mirror, even if it doesn't get any less dark, that it tackles subcategories of society, the military, police, gamers, moms. There are episodes about how technology impacts each of those person's desires and fears, and this is the military episode. And don't just call it the military episode, because this man deals with things that need to be dealt with.
Right. And it's an interesting idea. So they take a eugenics stance with the roaches. It's that these eyeball implant... God, I hate fucking saying that word.
There's only 5 of them.
These eyeball implants cause you to see humans with unwanted DNA as these non-human vampire-looking fuckers. And eugenics was not just a Nazi Germany thing. It was practiced worldwide, especially also here in the United States. But Germany is, of course, the most famous one. And it was taken to a hyperbolized scenario here. And I find it interesting in that not just is it through propaganda and through writing and these things that we associate with our time, that's how eugenics and these kinds of movements are spread. Here, it's directly implanted into your brain, kind of without your consent or knowledge. Because when what's the main guy's name? Stripe. When Stripe is sitting down and says, like, oh yeah, I consent to have this thing implanted in my head or whatever, he forgets that. And certain psychologists and certain philosophers would say that because you have erased his memories, you have erased his identity. And he is now a new person.
I'm with you on the erasing identities, but I be careful when you say consent, because I mean, indoctrination into a military lifestyle and that military ideal, this jingoistic ideal, it does come from a seed of genuine consent.
Right, yeah. And this and you know, there's other movies talking about this great what the military does to create a better uniform troop. See A Few Good Men or Full Metal Jacket, and whether that is right or wrong.
Yeah.
And so this is just a different take on that, which again I really, really like. I like that kind of narrative, and I like that study.
Yeah. And you gave this episode in particular extra points because when the character finds out that technology made things fucked up, he's like, no, that's fucked up.
Yeah, he gets off the ride right away. He's like, fuck this, fuck you, fuck everyone.
It's not
this is inhumane, this is stupid, and I hate it.
It's not like Nosedive where you're like, Bryce Dallas, you can be so much more if you stop caring about what people think.
Right, yeah, in Nosedive, she's like, oh, this is just the way things are.
That was refreshing to have Stripe go, wait, what?
Yeah, so that was really refreshing. That scene with crazy PTSD man.
Crazy PTSD.
The scene in that big white room where he's making Stripe remember all the people he killed.
Yeah, it's like, you can let me indoctrinate you, wipe your memory, or I'll let you watch these people that you killed repeatedly. I'll let you relive your war crimes.
Yes, I will lock you in a jail cell and I will make you watch this over and over again for the rest of your entire life. And they're just like, oh my god.
I don't blame him. I mean, if he can, they can curb PTSD. I don't believe they're curing PTSD.
No.
But when he says like, oh, you seem hurt, let's give you a good dream. Really good dream.
Yeah, and again, it's more of a mind invasion, and I'm kind of whatever about that. But I feel like Black Mirror is constantly trying to like, doesn't this make you feel weird? Doesn't this make you feel weird? That was the first one that felt like a fucking punch in the gut. Yeah. Again, maybe it's because I personally dealt with PTSD, but yeah.
Episode 306 is Hated in the Nation, a very long, by a considerable margin, cop drama. It's movie length. It's twice as long as most other episodes about two people on the surface basically doing a cop drama. And I don't mean to disparage this. It's clearly aping some of the points of procedural cop dramas.
Yeah, with just like buddy cop stuff.
Now, I want to bring up your main complaint right away because when you said it, I was like, "That's mean." I'm gonna show her where on the internet she's wrong. And I didn't find it. Your big complaint is that the two girls, one of them likes technology and one of them's hoity-toity about technology.
Oh yeah, the whippersnapper motif.
You want to elaborate a little bit?
Okay, so we got cute little blonde girl who's clearly the lesbian sub. No, just kidding. Edit that out, John. We got this blonde girl.
Karen.
No,
Blue. Excuse me.
Yeah, Blue is her name. And she is
a former internet or
she's a former forensic student, which props. I knew several forensic students in anthropology. Former forensic students who is approaching this using social media and this kind of like tech jargon that doesn't really mean a whole lot to the audience.
You got to be careful in procedurals with tech jargon.
Yeah. But every time she mentions, like, let's check this person on social media, let's follow this hashtag, let's XYZ. Karen, who's played by Merida.
Kelly McDonald, we love you.
Who's played by Kelly McDonald. Karen is always like, oh, no, see, these things are always caused by either domestic disputes or drugs or something like that. People don't mean what they say on social media. And she constantly takes this super condescending, like, oh, you kids and your technology stance on it, which I'm like, okay, this makes no sense. You live in a world with robotic fucking bees.
Like, I mean, there's being antiquated, and then there's, like, living in a hole for 85 years.
Right, yeah, and so I understand you're divorced. I understand you're bitter. That doesn't mean you can't have a fucking character. And she's constantly, like, belittling Blue every time she tries to bring up, like, tracking things on social media or using this highbrow technology. But you live in a future. Like, you live in a world that is very clearly more advanced than ours. What gives you the right to just ignore those advancements as a cop?
Okay, let me. Okay, I fell on my face. Haley's right. Let me explain why I fell on my face. When you said that, when you complained, I'm like, no. I read a review that says that's good, so I pulled up.
Jesus.
I pulled up the AV.
John's mind is the internet.
I pulled up the AV Club review of this episode, Hated in the Nation, and they were talking about the really well trodden. Almost procedural buddy cop things about how one of them is kind of stern, one of them's kind of bright-eyed, and he wasn't defending it as much as they were saying, it's worked for years, why change it? So it's not really even they're defending that difference. It's about just doing something casual so we can focus on the bees.
And I'm fine with that, with, like, the buddy cop drama having one person who's like, oh, I'm old-fashioned and stern and but it doesn't make sense in this context.
Okay. So that there's that.
Can I make 2 points?
Yeah, please do.
Number 1, these girls passed the shit out of the Bechdel test.
Oh, very nice.
Good job, girls. Number 2, I called the bees way before it was revealed. I am proud of myself. I deserve a medal.
You be proud. It's not. You're honing a small laser focus, which is starting to piss me off.
I'm sorry.
It's starting to. It happened with like I'll bet it's not roaches. It's something else. And
it's
then
like, okay, like it's either roaches or like awful humans.
That or like it's bees. I'll bet. I'm proud of you. But
well, okay, so you show the robotic bees. It's kind of an aside mention, and then when they go to the kindergarten, there's bees all over the fucking wall. I'm like, it's the bees.
Yeah. Okay. Fuck. It's the bee. It's like when I got mad at Josh for picking the villain out of from Mirror's Edge, on episode 2.
Who also happens to be a bad guy.
God damn it. Okay. I don't give it to you. Right away anymore because they piss me off, and if I feed you a treat, you do it more. This is a small nagging idea on cancel culture, which is it's. I mean, I don't want to give it points just because I fucking hate cancel culture.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm kind of a social media stupid head. So I'm not gonna comment on cancel culture. What I am gonna comment on is the anonymity that social media allows people, and is that good/okay?
Well,
and that's what this episode movie, let's be honest, it's a freaking movie, is asking, and I like that because it is a question I've thought about several times.
The idea, and I know that you get hoity-toity with good reason. That hoity-toity is not mad. Let's be honest, is about the Karen being like, oh, I'm old-fashioned. You can't get as mad at a person on the internet as I can get at my husband.
Yeah.
That is important because it's supposed to illustrate that this heat you get in a cancel culture storm. They compare it to a storm cell, like everything's moving at once. No individual molecule can have that as much heat as one. Like if you killed my dog that I don't have. Like, that would be different. That would be like a seething rage. But if for example, Ellen was maybe mean to a guest on her show, I'm second, third, fourth degrees of Kevin Bacon away from Ellen DeGeneres.
And you see this all the time with political posts. The sheer amount of, like, literal death threats that get thrown across Facebook comments that you just shrug off. But this terrorist guy, and John and I had this discussion, let's be honest, he's a terrorist.
Yeah.
That's the question he brings up, and he's like, what if you were accountable for everything you said on the internet?
And that was his. I mean, if you haven't been playing along, the B guys, I don't think he's even given a name, which is good, because we're not focusing on him. His idea was to get a list of everybody who's ever participated and then kill them. Yeah.
So you have this. We're gonna assume you see the episode. So he ends up killing almost 400,000 people. But let's be honest. Even in our so-called free speech world, and this takes place in the UK, this not the United States. There are different laws there. But even in the United States, if you walked up to the president or even like the Secretary of State and said, "I hope you die tomorrow at 7:00 by a gunshot," you're gonna get arrested.
It's similar to one is a tragedy, 10,000 is just a news cycle.
Yeah, and it's this sickening effect of numbers. When the numbers become so astronomical that the deaths don't mean much, that's truly, truly frightening. You see that in other areas of history.
It's upsettingly topical right now.
Yeah. But yeah, this was good. This was, I mentioned earlier, I have an issue with Black Mirror episodes in that I wish they were longer and allowed their ideas to develop more and kind of be more organic. This took enough time with pretty much everything.
Okay, good.
So I did like that.
I do appreciate, again, let's get back to when science drops out and becomes horror.
Yeah. This movie, I'm calling it a movie still. This is fucking creepy.
Okay, full on getting a Hitchcock the Birds reference.
Yeah.
And 40,000 fucking robot bees trying to break into your house. Oh my god.
And that's triggering for me because I fucking hate bees.
My wife has a pathological fear of stinging insects.
I'm not even allergic. I'm just terrified of them.
That's creepy. What's creepy is this has similar effects to the suicide plant, which really fucking exists.
Yeah.
You learn in the episode, they're digging into your brain where the pain happens and causing an agony that is so bad you would rather kill yourself.
Yeah, you'd rather slit your own throat.
And what a really cool scene where after the rapper dies due to the Death 2 hashtag.
His name is Tusk.
Yeah, you'll see him later in episodes. They do an MRI because there's some shit in his brain, and the MRI fucking takes the bug out of...
They can't see your hand motion, dude.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, an MRI is a powerful magnet, and it gets shot out his eyeball.
Yeah, and
because
that's when they find out, oh god, it's the bees. And then Nicolas Cage screams really loud. No,
nice, very solid. Right on the end of 2017, Toby Haynes wrote and directed episode 401 entitled USS Callister, starring Nanette Cole. Not starring Nanette Cole, starring Christine Milioti, who is most famous for being the mom on How I Met Your Mother. And this episode in general being a very large Star Trek pastiche. Yeah,
so I am not a Trekkie, not a Trek fan. I grew up with Star Wars.
Nor am I.
I kind of dove into this expecting to hate this episode, and it actually... except for the main guy, I find the idea very interesting. And that's what a lot of this later Black Mirror is I find the ideas very interesting.
So Robert Daly is played by Jesse Plemons, one half of a startup company that has made a VR spaceship game. And in his home, he has set up his own skin, his own mod of the game, to make him the cool-ass...
Captain Picard.
Captain Picard. I was going to say Captain the other guy. But the fact that I can't name the other guy means Picard. There you go.
There you
go. Kirk is the name. The unfortunate Black Mirror-ness of this means that I can scan somebody's DNA and put a consciousness version of them into my mod.
And when this new girl gets hired at his company, he's like, oh, I gotta give me a piece of that. So he scans DNA, and now she can be in his fantasy world forever.
And this is maybe the first... I'm gonna say it villain in Black Mirror where they fit squarely in the term complete monster.
Yeah, I disagree with you in that he's the only villain, but I agree with you on the moniker. Because where Black Mirror begins to piss me off is when you leech the humanity out of its characters.
Yes, and that'll be a really cool thing to explain later.
Yeah, and so why I don't like the main guy is I don't buy that he's a person, therefore I don't care what's happening to him. But all the other characters are people, and I find their struggle and the way they interact with this world, I find that very, very interesting.
So I'm going to lead into one point, but I have to stop off at another point. When people discuss this on forums, like when they're discussing specifically the idea of cookies or clones of yourself, as we saw in White Christmas or Callister or Rachel, Jack, and Ashley too.
Every time you say cookie, I have to remember you mean the egg thing.
Yeah, the egg thing. People, even with the technology being so distant in the future, there are still people that have put themselves mentally in one of two camps where, oh, they're just code. What's the problem? Who cares if they spend an eternity in there?
And, oh, how dare you, this real human.
I'm firmly in that's of consciousness. That's fucked up. But it's so cool how we immediately, without intending to, broke ourselves into two different categories.
Yeah, and I find this idea interesting because I like escapist narratives. And you see what this guy goes through in his real life. He's not only a loser, but he gets, like, shat on. Not constantly.
Yeah.
It does not excuse what he does, but it helps you understand it. Until they fucking make him scan DNA and hold these people hostage and turn him into a god.
That is fucked up.
Then I don't care.
So my point there, not excusing Robert Daly's whole character, is that he would clearly be on the side of, oh, they're just code. Who gives a shit?
Right. Yeah, he clearly does not give a shit what's happening to these people. He turns them into freaking weird space alien monsters
and takes their face off briefly.
Yeah.
What's fucked up here is that, well, not fucked up. There's an underground motif of making fun of toxic fandoms and toxic, not masculinity, but the entitlement of the nerd culture. That if you're really a fan of something, you should deserve to have it your way, made exactly how you like it.
I think you're reaching.
There are think pieces about it.
Well, for this episode, I think that's going too far. I think this is one guy who's very good at coding, and this is a thing. Why I don't say it's a fan culture, because this is a thing he made.
Okay.
This is not something he widely distributed. This is a thing he made, and that he made a living hell.
That it's a much deeper subtext than what I'm giving it credit for. But
well, no. I think the subtext has equal depth. It's just yours. That reading of it doesn't work for me.
That's fourth or fifth on their list of things they want to get across in this episode.
Yeah. And it's nice to see the characters in Black Mirror actually, fucking succeed. Yeah. Instead of spiral into a depth of rolling in monkey shit.
Yeah. So at the end of it, being trapped forever in a video game, that's middle of the road for optimism in a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, I mean that's well, and they had the fuck yeah moment. Is all
they do. They had the I win moment. Now we can just fuck off.
Yeah, this is one of the only Black Mirror episodes where you get the fuck yeah moment.
Also, it's funny because even those people, they have to tell jokes because you have to get the idea that these 5 or 6 people have been acclimated to being stuck in this universe for who knows how long.
Yeah.
So they have to tell these jokes about how
we don't have a dick.
We don't have a dick. We tried fucking. We don't have genitals. Episode 402 is entitled Arkangel, directed by guest director Jodie Foster, about helicopter parents, the Black Mirror episode.
Yeah. John told me, so one thing I asked John, I was like, if there is a pregnancy episode, I do not want to watch that. And he's like, there's not a pregnancy episode. There is one involving children.
This episode opens on a C-section. I'll just be honest about that. I think that was one of the 2 points in this to try to give her some benefit of the doubt that, oh, it's scary being a first-time parent. What if you fuck up? That's maybe the idea they were going for.
Yeah, maybe. And it is interesting. I can't fault the episode for not being what I wanted it to be. I'm far more interested in that idea where you can, pick your child's genetic code to have them be really good at reading or skateboarding or.
That's is that eugenics?
Yeah. Okay. Well, kind of. People would say that's not eugenics because eugenics are what Nazis do, and that's not okay.
Okay.
But and so I was looking for more of that, and that's not really what I got. This is again more helicopter parenting.
This isn't control.
The Black Mirror episode.
This isn't control. This is observation after the fact. Yes.
And the complete lack of control, which is what terrifies this mother to death.
Yeah, they tried to do that to give her the B and the D, but they front loaded it first and then kind of let the idea of this spiral to its logical conclusion pretty good.
So this does not have the sort of Damocles that most Black Mirror episodes have for me. Everybody in this episode is human, and I love that. Totally believe that they're actual people going through actual issues. And using technology as part of those issues, I like that. I like that everybody's human.
So it's fucked up the way I had to find out you're doing cocaine, but
yeah,
that's a normal response for somebody to have.
Right, and this is a natural way in the world that we live in. This is a natural place for technology to go.
Right.
And what if it goes too far? That's what standard Black Mirror should be doing.
Yeah.
So I like that everybody is human. I don't. Go ahead, because I'm still gathering thoughts.
Okay.
I guess.
What I appreciate, always a plus in a Black Mirror episode, yes, they tried this fucked up procedural thing, or experimental thing, but you find out over the course of the episode, yeah, the United States and most of the world found out this is fucked up. It's illegal now.
Yeah, this is fucked up and stupid.
We can't take out the one we put in you, but it's illegal now, so don't worry.
Yeah, and this is especially haunting to people who have known parents like this, and they're getting more and more common. Anybody who's been to a college campus recently, you'll see this, and it's even more upsetting when you're related to them. It's But here's the thing. When I found out what I was going to say. When I saw this episode and I saw the gimmick, I was like, okay, there's only one place this can go.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one place. Daughter gets mad, rejection. I didn't know it was going to end in a death, but whatever.
Well, it's on the... I think she lives, but...
Well,
there's an altercation.
Yeah, it's like, daughter's going to find out and reject her mother. And that's it. That's all you can do with that. And so I'm like, why was this here? And
they try to make it kind of 8th grade about it, and not the Bo Burnham movie, not the grade in school, where it's about, tentative girl trying to come over, learn about herself and be acclimated to the world.
And come over the fact that she has a fucking chip in her head and is therefore unlike every single person in her school.
And what I really like is that the coke dealer is a coke dealer third. He's a guy named, I think Trey was his name.
Yeah, whatever.
But the point is, he was actually a really nice guy. I was expecting him to be a scumbag, but every turn, she's like, can I try some cocaine? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, well, and, he was like, it's the corruption of innocence, which must happen to every single person, and the idea that you can stop that using an iPad is fucking stupid.
But what was really cool to me, and this is just an aside, I thought this was cool, I compared it to blend bending, and if you guys aren't familiar with Avatar: The Last Airbender, you can't take it out, but the doctor's like, well, you could just put the iPad away, and she goes, yeah, but then I could always pick it back up whenever I want.
Yeah, or so, and there are better ways for the mom to have handled that, but that wasn't the point. Wasn't what they wanted to show in this episode. So again, I can't fault the episode for not being what I wanted it to be. I liked that everybody was human. Nice to see actual characters instead of inhuman monsters, but
One really impressive scare, and I like what this is an actual viscerally scary show, is when she finally pulls back out the iPad and turns on her visual feed. It's a visual feed of her back because the child was staring at her.
Oh yeah,
that was so fucking creepy. But
yeah, you see that all the time now though.
But it came to a scare that was specific to the setup, which I like.
Yeah.
All right. John Hillcoat directed episode 403 entitled Crocodile, which centers around a covered-up death in the hills of Iceland, and I believe it's Greenland, anyway. And this memory device, which helps insurance adjusters, of all things, come to conclusions, slowly unraveling this girl's life.
Yeah, I like this idea. I like this idea of, I don't have to... It's an interesting way for the insurance industry to go to use memories as a basis for claims. But holy shit, guys.
It's,
You want to talk about absolutely inhuman characters.
This woman, okay. The episode is supposedly about crocodile tears, that every time she's upset about what she did, she just covers it up with more death.
Yeah.
And is she ever really sorry about any of this shit?
And I don't, when your main character is not a person, I don't care. When it doesn't have human qualities, when you have not anthropomorphized this, and this person is a fucking human, biologically, but completely taken all the humanity out of it. I'm sorry, I'm ranting.
And it's okay to rant. Let me just point out what I don't like, because we're going to have a discussion later about episodes we don't like. This was, at the time, my least favorite episode, because even though it's dark, and even though it's convoluted how the Muslim insurance agent, by the way, inclusivity, great job, gets to it's whatever. Okay. Even though it's convoluted how we get to the ending, it's still a sad plotting ending. It's just I killed somebody, and the way that we're gonna get this is that she's gonna be investigating an automated pizza truck that's hit somebody, and he doesn't know what happened, but he saw this girl, and that girl saw it happen, but he also saw the dentist take a picture. And the dentist took a picture, but he didn't see the car, but he did see me kill my male friend because he was going to go to the cops. That's interesting that she's following this. It's just a long odyssey path to a really sad ending, and I like sad endings, but it's so there's no momentum.
Yeah, and it's again, it doesn't matter what setup you have. If I don't give a shit about your main character, you're not gonna do anything.
Props to it being brutal, like at least visually to look at, even when there's no violence. That Nordic area is such a cold, beautiful place.
Yeah, it has a lot like the one Myers movie Milo and I watched.
Finbar?
No, don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's it is a nice, gorgeous locale, and that's another issue I have with this episode. Background is far more interesting than whatever the fuck's going on.
Yeah, it's a beautiful setting, and I've just placed a cheeseburger on there.
Yeah.
We also got to talk about, it's an interesting premise, fucked up at the end by a blind baby and a gerbil.
Yeah.
That gerbil is so dumb. The finish line, guys, if you're here for spoilers.
I was checked out long before then, so.
The finish line, if you're here, guys, is that she's killed the insurance agent, but the husband knows, and unless I kill him too. So I go to kill him, but the baby saw me come in, but I killed the baby.
So we killed a baby, but the gerbil saw me kill the baby.
Number one, the gerbil saw me kill the baby.
I think it's a guinea pig, actually.
It's a guinea pig, yeah. The number one, the baby was blind, so I didn't have to kill the baby. That's fucked up. That's missed, fucked up, and dumb. Also, the gerbil saw it, so we're setting up the memory system on the gerbil to get the... We've been coaxing these humans, and a gerbil suddenly is gonna rat you out? Oh, I'm so mad. It's not a good episode for me.
And it ends with her watching her daughter do a ballet.
Isn't that emotional dissonance?
Oh, this was for some... Fuck you.
Oh, that's so bad. Tim Van Patten directed episode 404 entitled Hang the DJ. In this episode, Frank and Amy are two new users of in a universe of this Palm Pilot system that is supposed to hook you up with your eventual soulmate, as all dating apps do, with the caveat that the device is the one setting the eventual duration or end date of your relationship.
Before I go into this episode, about halfway through it,
what are you laughing about?
I grabbed a pillow and fucking shoved my husband in the face saying, "You fucker."
Oh,
because
guys.
out walked George Blagden.
Guys.
From the little house that they're in, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Guys, 20 minutes into the movie, George Blagden plays a very sexual man named Lenny. I did not know that was him. So my wife...
So I thought John was hiding that from me. I was like, oh yeah, George Blagden's in here, and I'm not gonna tell you. So I was like, you motherfucker, and John's like, what?
Anyway, characters aside, you've derailed me. It's so funny. Okay.
I like this idea. I was on board till the fucking end.
That's always what ruins it for you.
I was on board till I like that interesting idea of, number one, this is totally willing, and if it wasn't, this would be fucked. But it's totally willing. You don't have to use this app. You can date the normal way.
Yeah.
But if you want to, it'll tell you how long you should stay with this person, and we'll keep matching this up until we finally end you up with Mr. or Mrs. Right. But then, oh no, actually, we're trying to push you into rebel against the system so you can be the cogs in this wheel of an app that has a 98% rating because you did it right.
Okay, number one, 99.8. Number two, I'm giving you shit. I wouldn't say pushing as much as testing, because the point of this is that, this app's version of getting married is you're gonna find the one. You're gonna have a soul bond or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and rebel against the system like two goddamn vigilantes.
Well, that's the marriage, okay? That's the end goal. Like, people normally get married.
Which is stupid.
Marriage is stupid? Okay.
No. The rebelling against the system, climbing over the wall, and ending up in, like, creepy blank data space. That's stupid.
But before you get married, you have this opportunity to have a last get together with any one of your previous dates, and it's similar to getting married. Like, how many times have you seen in fiction where, Ted Mosby's best female friend that I thought I was in love with is going to get married, but this is your last chance to come run away with me. Like, marriage is just romantically a finish line. And maybe for better or worse, it should or shouldn't be.
This episode isn't about marriage.
It's
about dating.
Yeah, but it's to what degree do you see dating as a narrative to come to an end? Because what I notice at the end of this, when they pull out and you see we are an incredibly strong match, that's all that for one date. This is a very singular one-time. It's experimental, not narrative.
So what I like about this episode is this idea that we're trying this new experimental dating app because there's one born every minute, and it ends up working for them, and that's cool. What I don't like is that these little avatars that are going through these dates are part of a larger app on somebody's phone to get these people to have their first date.
Okay.
As for the narrative of what is the end-all goal of dating, I think that's different for everybody. Okay. And so I don't know why you're bringing that narrative into it.
I think that in the system, this idea that there's a final coupling and you're stuck forever, which is basically a marriage in this universe, finding out nothing better than a ticking clock to find out that you actually like somebody. Yeah. Like when they're about to be left. I'm not saying that every like, oh, I made a mistake, can I go back, has to end with you heroically climbing the wall, but
no, and again, I really like that first part, but it completely shoots itself in the head when I realize that all these characters that we've been with this whole time are just this code, and it goes back to that cookie thing.
Yeah.
There's just these little bits of code inside of an app of determining all of the kind of determining random occurrences. Because these two random bits of AI got together, you two should get together. That is stupid.
There have been complaints, and I'll level with them. People that said, "Oh, that's fucked up. That for you to do a dating app, these individuals have to spend 5 years unhappy with this woman who is not a person."
Yes.
That I have a hard time reconciling that with myself.
Yes.
And
I think the dating app idea is interesting just because, again, there's hundreds out there. This is just one method. All these characters are human except for the one chick who he spends 5 years with that we don't care about. So yeah, interesting idea. It completely kills itself in the end.
How do you feel about the idea? So one of the driving narrative forces is that we are, during this date that we have together, we're not going to look at the expiration date. How do you feel about him looking at it and then it subsequently getting shorter and shorter?
Because you've broken trust, and no relationship can exist without trust. So you guys made that pact, so therefore you should... It's
trust, but like if I start dating you and I'm looking forward to, okay, how far can this last? I wish I could credit the right piece of media, but somebody says at a certain age, dating is no longer fun. It's courtship. This is going to end with me being sad, or we're going to get married until one of us dies.
Yeah. And again, people date for different reasons.
Yeah, at some point at a certain age it becomes a game, but that's sadness that even Black Mirror I don't want to touch. Episode 405 is entitled Metalhead, directed by David Slade, and is very notorious for splitting the fan base down a pretty jagged middle.
It was nice to just turn your brain off and watch an action movie.
I found that extremely refreshing.
That's really nice.
It refuses to delve even a little toe bit into why the hell we have robot dogs killing humanity.
The teddy bear ending was stupid, and I saw that coming about halfway through the episode.
But that's not the episode doesn't want you to focus on that.
No, and it's not the ending is not episode killing like the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to just turn your brain off, watch an action movie. I'm not huge on action movies, so but it was tense. It was filled with suspense.
And it was.
It does not make you think.
It was black and white. Everyone seems to believe to make the somewhat dodgy CGI look maybe less bad.
Oh.
Okay.
Alright.
But
I don't care about
it's well shot. I love the grainy texture. I'm not gonna say it's better than color like that. I have no dog in the fight of black and white versus color.
You said dog.
Let's talk about this fucking dog. People.
It is terrifying. I will say that. Like it's quite creepy.
The subreddit Black Mirror has gotten to the point where no news place can ever post something about the Boston Dynamics robot walking on 4 legs without somebody going, "Hey, it's Metalhead."
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be so easy to ask, okay, what happened? Why? Do we have guard dogs and they fucked up? It doesn't matter. No answer is going to be satisfactory for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it doesn't bog itself down with a bunch of, I don't want to say lore, but you got to get what I mean if I do say lore.
I kind of get what you're going for.
It's not complicated.
This idea that it is a...
It's not high concept.
Yeah, not everything has to be a think piece.
Yeah.
When you defend... imagine if every conversation you had over the course of a week in college was your thesis.
Yeah. Or like, imagine if every episode of every segment of ABC's of Death was S's for Split. I would enjoy S's for Split a lot less.
Yeah.
If all of them had that level of thought.
I'm not saying this is dumb, but this episode knows where its focus is, and it's not on how we got here.
Yeah, it's on what's happening and what's going on, and I kind of like that it drops you in the middle of nowhere.
It did. They did a really good job also making sure that the dog is a very efficient killer.
Yes.
It runs, it knows how to conserve power.
It has a pack.
When it loses... Oh, it does have a pack. When it loses its arm, it puts a knife in it. And it has like a knife.
Yeah, I thought the knife thing was stupid, but I like it better when it's an animal. And paleontology can tell you that pack hunters are like the most efficient hunters. That's why
but he's not really in a pack for most of it, actually. Like, there
a
lot of them, but the fact that they can communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the knife thing was dumb. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. John's wrong. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
The season 4 finale. I'm just looking at this now, and of course it was written specifically by Charlie Brooker, because this is directed by Cole McCarthy, an episode entitled Black Museum, which people have said is just a parody of Black Mirror. In this setup, people are like, okay, Rollo Haynes, you're just a huge over-the-top version of Charlie Brooker telling these really fucked up stories. And they're dark and weird.
Yeah, the pain one was interesting. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It was kind of whatever.
It wouldn't have filled an entire episode.
Yeah. The monkey thing, we again have these issues of too many people in that anthology aren't human.
Well, okay, if you're playing along at home, the second anthology is a happy married couple. One of them is in a coma because they got hit by a car. And they've said, I can put her in the part of your brain you're not using. And of course, like Arkangel, you look at that and you're like, okay, I know where this is going.
Yeah, and you call it immediately. And of course, he can't ever let this person go. But we've had other better Black Mirror episodes of the need to let go.
Yeah.
And it's just... It's whatever. It's sufficiently creepy. It's far more entertaining, by the way, for me to watch John watch this episode than for me to watch it myself.
The monkey is so fucked up. This is the pinnacle.
We see the stuffed monkey in the glass, and he's like, "That fucking monkey."
This is the most potent. I have no mouth and I must scream. Here's why it's potent. So when she's in the monkey's brain, this physical manifestation of the monkey's brain, and she can press a happy face or a frown face, and it says monkey loves you or monkey needs a hug, respectively. There's a passing comment that makes this fucking horrifying to me. Rollo Haynes says, yeah, they made that illegal after a while. Apparently, the United Nations says you got to be able to express 5 emotions to be humanitarian.
To be considered
That's so fucked up. It's even worse for me when the in-universe world says, okay, that's fucked up. It's too late for you, but that's fucked up.
Yeah, too late for you. And yeah, and of course she's still in this monkey as it's sitting in this flat box.
So she has had to watch him explain her situation every time somebody walks into this building.
Yeah. And so yeah, the monkey was interesting. It's one of those. It makes me uncomfortable, but in the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
The reason, though, that
it's like Requiem for a Dream, only not as well directed.
Yikes. The reason that we are here, though, is that her father was wrongly convicted of murder and sentenced to the electric chair. Mm-hmm. However, in order to support his family, before he went to the electric chair, he signed a piece of paper that allows his consciousness to be held captive in the back room of the Black Museum and be used as a sort of tourist destination where people can pay money to electrocute this person.
And then it becomes White Bear.
This is what... I was on the fence about this episode. This is where it becomes a parody.
Yeah.
People are going out of their way to pay money to electrocute a man who, unless you did your research, is guilty.
Yes.
And it goes even further than that to say you can pay extra and get a keychain consciousness of him perpetually being electrocuted. That's fucked up as all hell.
Yes, and we get to keep it, and it's yay. And of course, she, the fuck yeah moment is nice. Of course, she gets revenge on this bastard. I don't like that she takes the monkey.
I guess the monkey otherwise would just...
Like, strap a bomb to the monkey and blow it up, for fuck's sake.
Would the consciousness be in there, or would it be in the shell that's in the monkey? That's a whole question we don't care about. But
yeah, so I'm okay with the first two anthologies. They're kind of... They're alright. But that last one, it became White Bear. I was like, you turn this into a roadside attraction. It's like Black Mirror fetishizing itself.
It's a jerk off episode of Black Mirror.
And it's dumb. Like, it's not entertaining, which is the worst thing.
We won't talk very long about it. David Slade directed a very, very experimental Netflix, we'll call it a film, entitled Bandersnatch, where you get to basically watch a considerably longer episode of Black Mirror in the style of a choose-your-own-adventure series.
And the first time we watched this, I had not seen Black Mirror.
Oh, okay.
So I'd only kind of heard about it and watched a couple. I think actually the only episodes I'd seen was Nosedive when we saw this.
Sorry.
So I was like, what the fuck is going on? All right, everybody be honest. How many of you chose the Netflix ending first?
Okay, not a lot of people actually got the option to get the Netflix ending.
Really?
That's actually more of an Easter egg.
Are we just bad at it?
No, bad means we found the secrets. This involves a young boy in an alternate weird 80s where he's trying to come up with the next best game based on an old video game called Bandersnatch. He wants to bring that book series into the Atari-style video game world.
Yes.
Which justifies this extremely meta episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't hate it. I love the concept. I love the idea. Not of bringing a choose-your-own-adventure into a video game, but the idea of Bandersnatch the movie.
Yeah.
Of like this weird like butterfly effect insanity where if you choose this 80s band or that 80s band to play on his Walkman, it can completely alter that. I like that idea.
Yeah. And I really appreciate Netflix's upfrontness about this, saying this is extremely experimental. We're trying new shit. We're at the forefront of streaming right now.
Yes.
We can afford to do weird new things.
Yeah, and then the story it tells is kind of interesting as you go through. I'm assuming there's only so many endings you can unlock.
Yeah.
If you end up getting the Netflix Easter egg, have fun with that.
Okay. What is I can't comment on the narrative because it branches too much.
Yeah.
It's okay to be tonally different, like the Netflix ending, because it's similar to finding an Easter egg in an actual video game.
Yeah.
And the meta-ness is what makes this work, because if it were a choose-your-own-adventure about, say, the episode Nosedive, like, it wouldn't hold weight, because then choose-your-own-adventure is just a gimmick.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's... There's things that work, there's things that I'm kind of whatever about, but I like the experimentalist. I will always respect trying new things, even when those things don't work. Yeah. And this didn't fail, It's
super interesting, and I'm glad they did it. Season 5 opens with the episode Striking Vipers, directed by Owen Harris. I guess the opening to Season 5, and if people are going to still complain about Season 5 being over the top, I'm glad this is your favorite episode of the season.
Yeah, we found it. This is This is my favorite Black Mirror episode.
I wanted one...
And not just because it involves a gay relationship.
I wanted just one, where you were like, okay, no strings attached, that was good.
Yes, I like that. I love this idea of, like, stuck in a video game. Oh, it's just a video game, it doesn't matter. Yes, it fucking does.
And it's not like, oh, there was a power outage. Well, because the AV Club review of this is so impressed, because they show you this game, and then there's more pedantic party scene stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, where's the shoe going to drop? Is he actually going to get stuck in there? Is there going to be a power outage that fries his brain?
Yeah, you're waiting for, like, some dumb little bullshit technology thing, but no, it's this very, very real narrative between two characters
who are very straight,
but form this relationship that neither one of them can deny.
There are complaints about it not going deep enough in terms of romance, but the fact that Black Mirror dealt with romance at all in a way that is fulfilling, I feel.
Yeah, and I like this for all the reasons I like most of San Junipero. We've used technology as a vehicle to tell this very, very interesting story.
Yes, you're given a long time to meet very settled in, I've forgotten their names, I apologize, I won't even try. Very settled in man, Carl and Danny, and then very bachelor, very flea, very, goes with the wind blows. So these people, so now you can't pin this feeling on, oh, I wanted an escape, or oh, I wanted a connection. This has just happened between two people. We have to deal with our new feelings.
Yeah, they're friends. They play video games together. I'm so glad that they didn't turn this into a gender identity episode of, does he identify as female because he plays a girl in the game? No.
That would have tanked the episode and caused everybody to get mad for no reason.
And I love that they don't even, like, dangle that in front of you, like, oh, are we gonna go there? They're just like, oh, isn't it weird that I think the characters had this conversation. They're like, don't you think it's weird that you play a girl in the game but you're a guy in real life? No. Done. Moving on.
I like her because you see, like, like 10 years or 8 years or 12 years before the main events happen, he's like, I just like her moveset. Fuck it. This is back before you could go into the game. And I love how it's so easy not to talk about your feelings, especially romantic feelings, when you're in a masculine setting.
Yes.
And just for them to get out and go, okay, so we're gay now, right?
Or, like, are we? I don't know.
Like even though the show wants to get deeper than that, that was his reaction. It's just, oh, are we gay now? I don't know.
And you think it's also going to make the idea of, like, oh, no, we're only doing this. It's just sex. Like, it's just for sex. But no, these two sit down and have, like, very deep, meaningful conversations and do everything that people in relationships do.
That's the coolest thing, is that after they fuck in the stage and the game over is on screen, they'll sit and cuddle and talk for hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, it's just so neat. It's neat.
There's neat.
It's so neat.
Okay, I'll take it for a bit. There is a character here who used to act in Sleepy Hollow, and this episode was very famous because, she hasn't been in anything since Sleepy Hollow. He plays the committed man's wife.
Oh, okay.
And there's a really powerful scene when they're at their anniversary, after he's dealing with this whole striking Viper situation. And she is saying, who is it? I can tell you're cheating on me. You haven't fucked me in a long time. You don't look at me different. Just tell me you're cheating. And you can see in his brain go, babe, I wish I could say I was cheating.
I don't know.
That's simple. I want simple. I can't even begin to explain the situation in here. But the feeling is the same.
Yes, and like, no matter, like, he has this constant wrestling. And let's be honest, like, you kind of weigh in pretty quickly on whether or not you think he's cheating. I'm going to go with yes, he is. But
go ahead.
And it doesn't make what's happening any less real.
It doesn't. And that's a situation that would have required another hour to talk about and go into. But this is the very rare good episode that also asks you to think about it afterwards. Yeah. Usually, I hate it when there's a bad episode of Black Mirror and then it makes you think about shit, like something coming up.
Oh, yeah. We'll get there.
We'll get there. That's really well done. And I'm so, you say toxic masculinity. I'm glad that men are allowed to express feelings, especially in one of my favorite anthology shows. That's really nice.
And I'm glad that men are allowed to express feelings to each other.
I'm also glad that this is one of the top 5 most optimistic endings of a Black Mirror episode. Yeah. Where he and his wife have an agreement that one time per year, You give me your wedding ring and the things to play my game with.
Yes.
You go have an extramarital affair.
And that's fine.
And I'll go fuck my female avatar friend.
And it's all, they come to an agreement. That's what relationships do. That's what healthy relationships are based on. Is like, you can do non-traditional things, fucked up things, but as long as you both go in and agree on it, what is the harm?
It's a really mature episode. I
like
that
that
a lot. Okay. When they make a joke about, they've earned that I fucked the polar bear joke. When they don't play for a long time, it's like, I need you.
Yeah!
I need you. Nobody's the same. I've tried fucking computer players, nothing. I tried fucking the polar bear character, nothing.
I don't know, it's so weird.
But it earned that by being really mature.
Yes, yeah. It's mature without being like super high concept in your face. It has fun with itself.
Yeah. Okay, these last two are gonna require not a bone to pick with each other, but I feel like we both had weird responses to the final 2 episodes of season 5. But here we go. James Hawes directed an episode written by Charlie Brooker entitled Smithereens, mainly focused on this man named Chris who works for Hitcher, this universe's version of Uber or Lyft. Why don't you begin?
I don't hate this episode. It is too goddamn long.
So I'll just go out and say it. This is What If Phones, but too much. This is the...
What if Uber, but too much?
Not What If Uber. Guys, let's just get at the ending out of the way, because I want to talk about how we get to the ending.
Yeah.
Because that's the
journey is better than the payoff.
The motivation of this man who has kidnapped an intern to talk to Billy Bauer, this universe's Mark Zuckerberg, is that he used the app because he felt he was addicted or dependent on it while he was driving with his fiance. They hit a drunk driver, fiance dead, but the news blamed the drunk driver, so he lives with this guilt that he has killed his fiance accidentally because he was too busy on his Facebook phone. So it's less now about what if phones, but too much.
Yeah.
And more about his methodology. Because if you focus, I feel, on what if phones, but too much, that is a very flat Aesop to have as a Black Mirror episode, especially when you've already been called out by your fiercest critic for that.
Yeah. And I don't like the trope that this one does aspire to, the kind of just royally incompetent cops.
Go on.
Because they take so fucking long to get this situation under control.
Well, that's interesting, because that's another point I wanted to break up, is I didn't see them as incompetent, more than I was a little frightened that the Facebook employees,
the
Smithereens employees, using his account could find out so much more, faster than the cops.
And that is, again, I like, in this instance, that Black Mirror takes technology that we have and just kind of expands upon it. That makes it a lot more believable, which is nice. Believable is not necessary for a good episode. But God, I love that CEO dude.
Guys, what is his name? His name is Billy Bauer. He's played by somebody famous. Topher Grace plays Billy Bauer. I don't know him from anything, but we really liked his performance.
Yeah, it was really, really solid. He was easily my favorite part of the episode. It drags so much.
Let me take a break just to talk about Billy Bauer, because what I like about Billy Bauer is that the first thing you hear about him is that he is not to be disturbed because he is on a 10-day tech cleanse in the California desert.
And I love how the CEO of a tech company needs a tech cleanse.
And that is, as a viewer receiving that information, the douchiest descriptor you could give for somebody we haven't seen yet. And it was surprising for Topher to give a really restrained, yeah, dude, I agree with you. I don't want to do these, hostage talking points. I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And I was so ready for it to be severely douchey, and it was very refreshing to paint this version's Mark Zuckerberg in a humanizing light, because it's so easy to say Facebook evil.
Yeah, and it's so easy to say CEO evil as well. Especially in an episode where technology bad, it's so easy to pick the CEO of a technology company as just this, unfeeling, uncaring Cybertron. And he's, the best part of the episode, consistently. He is absolutely livid when they find out that this guy has been trying to get in contact with him all day. And his coworkers and his officers have stopped it because they're worried about it. It's like, dude, I don't care if this guy's an intern. His fucking life is on the line. Get him on the phone.
And this woman who, the Asian American woman, who is constantly like, let me talk to him. No, it could be a PR scandal. Shut up.
Shut up. Somebody's about to die.
I love how it could have gone a little more into this became something I didn't want it to be.
Yeah, and honestly, I think I would have not enjoyed that.
More time. It needs much more time, and I'm glad that they didn't do it that much, because if they tried to push it and there was nowhere to go,
yeah,
it would have gotten fat.
It would have been nice. Well, and it's already way, way too fat.
It's a little long.
It's a lot of just like sitting there waiting for stuff to happen, which I guess is what actually happens in a hostage situation. But I'm sorry, that's not interesting to watch.
But if you. This is where I clicked for me why you like certain Black Mirror episodes, because regardless of how stupid the Aesop here at the end is, the guy playing Chris did a phenomenal performance when he is crying to Billy Bauer silently on the other line.
And even the intern has like a very, like, he's freaked out, understandably, and it's so easy to just make him a non-character and just have him be a silent background. But no, he's like trying to get in this guy's head, trying to figure out, trying to make this human connection.
Yeah.
Which is really solid. So
it's really heartbreaking for Jaden, the hostage, to say, "No, man, you don't gotta kill yourself." It's like, yes, I do. This is me. I just wanted him to listen.
Yeah.
And that's what he got. And it's less about revenge. He doesn't have a vendetta against Facebook. He just wanted somebody to hear it.
Yeah, and just...
Oof.
Yeah, it's... I like those Black Mirror episodes that discuss people's relationship with technology and what it can do. Not phones, but too much. But...
It shares a lot of not a lot, of similar genes to the National Anthem. Not with the pig fucking, but with... The also with Hated in the Nation, this procedural stuff, like, here's a fucked up situation that's going on right now, get in the office and let's talk about it. They try their best to get out of the situation before they have to actually engage with the material.
Right. Yeah,
and that's a human thing to do.
Yeah, and it could have gone a lot of interesting... I wish it was better about its use of time, because you're right, it could have gone a lot of interesting ways. There's a lot of things you could have done with it. But instead, it's just it's a lot of just filler space that doesn't really work.
Yeah, it could have been cut a little bit. There's a little subplot where somebody's daughter died, and I'm trying to get into her Facebook.
Yeah, and I'm like, what's going on with that?
What was really cute about that is she's been trying every possible password she can think of. Turns out the password, when he calls in a favor, was the number on her boat where she spends her time.
Yeah.
That was cute. Episode 503 of Black Mirror is entitled Rachel, Jack, and Ashley 2, and my wife has some strong feelings.
It's dumb.
Okay. Guys, I'm all for stunt casting. I don't give a shit that Miley Cyrus is in this episode. I don't. I'm glad that at least you let her play a version of herself.
Well, yeah, and not that Miley Cyrus is a bad... Actually, for coming out of Disney Channel, it's amazing she's not freaking way worse than she is. But I made a comment at the beginning. I was like, why is it Miley Cyrus just playing Miley Cyrus? And I find out through the episode, oh, she is.
We
just with a different name.
Guys, we wrote this episode... We wrote this episode, shit. Right before we filmed this segment, I was reading the behind the scenes on this. Turns out this is based on fragments of a discarded comedy script Charlie Brooker tried to write about a punk band who dies, comes back to life, and is pissed off to find that somebody is using holographic versions of themselves without their consent.
Comedy!
Charlie, you can do some weird edgy FX channel shit. That is not a sitcom.
Yeah, what is that? What?
So thank you for not making that a sitcom. This is still weird.
This is still bad.
My wife did not... My wife was hanging on. Let's talk about the good things you had before it goes off the rails.
Well, I can't split up my thoughts that way, so I'm just going to wax poetic here.
Oh, go for it.
John said something that I really strongly agree with when this episode began. This is another episode that was fun for him to watch, by the way, because it'd been so long since he'd seen it.
Yeah.
But he said, like, this episode is juggling so many balls, and he's like, okay, you can have, like, one or two of these.
Okay, we are juggling the girl identifying with Ashley O, the superstar, trying to also fit in high school. We are juggling Miley Cyrus, the overproduced pop singer who just wants to sing shit that's important to her, and we have the dad who is trying to build a better mousetrap. I want to juggle all three. The show says no, you can have two.
Well, and okay, so personal connection time. I see. I was also a 15-year-old girl without a mom and a dad who didn't get it, and a sister who didn't connect with me very well. So I find that story interesting. And I really, I was annoyed with it at first because I saw myself in it, but Ashley, not Ashley.
The older sister?
No, not Jack. Rachel. Rachel latches on to the first thing she sees, which is Ashley O and her pop videos. That's fine. That's a real thing that happens. At least that's a real thing that happened to me. And so for like the first half of the episode, we'll get to the second half of the episode. First half of the episode, the parts that are about Rachel and her getting this little robot friend and her wanting this deep connection with friends, really like that. Very interesting, very humanizing, and I like the way they handled that. That's interesting, but it's cut up constantly with this old trope that I don't like. And it's not that I don't think Hollywood is bad or that the life of a star isn't hard. I get that. But like pretty much every artist or like every piece of media I've seen has talked about how hard it is to be a star. And I find that idea extremely boring.
So, okay, short answers. You would call that a boring answer. Would you call that an overwrought answer? And by that I mean too many other people have done it?
Yeah, oversaturated.
Okay.
It's definitely been overplayed, overdone. Again, not that that is not a real issue that actual teenage pop stars go through. Totally understand that. But there's a reason Shining Song Star Nova is a piece of shit.
I'm not here to suck off Charlie Brooker, but this is a rare instance where, because he doesn't often tackle specific shit like pop star situations.
Yeah,
like, let me back up. He doesn't often tackle situations that aren't think pieces and focus on a specific area of life. This is a weird time where he's late to the party.
Yeah, and everybody has kind of done this already. And I feel bad I keep repeating myself. And I understand it is an issue, but how many ways can we say the same phrase? Whereas the two sisters and her and Rachel and Jack dealing with each other, dealing with their dad, and dealing with how to go on now that they've had this thing happen to them, that is interesting. There's a story to tell there that has not been overdone. Now, all of that is in the first half.
We've compartmentalized...
In the second half...
In the second half... Okay, before we begin the second half, let me talk about my biggest... Okay, there's a lot of problems.
Yes.
Here's the one that sticks in my craw. The one in the middle of my shoulder blade, keeping me from raising my hand. Charlie, stop. That is Ursula the Sea Witch, her manager aunt.
Oh, yeah.
She's the Disney villain of Black Mirror verse.
Yeah, very, very key example of a Black Mirror making a character that is not human. That's her, that's the technical director, and that's the doctor, who looks disturbingly like Dumbledore from Fantastic Beasts. But anyway.
Put up a comparison. I believe in the narrative of I want to do my own thing, but the label won't let me. But in this era where the lay people that just want to watch Netflix, they now have more of an idea of the behind the scenes of producing a hit album or a single than they did 20 years ago. So this is no longer surprising news when you find out a star wanted to do their own thing, but the label had to make them do something else.
And it's also not surprising news that managers and producers kind of fucking suck. Because they're the business side, not the art side.
And there's a really... Charlie, calm down. There's a scene... The girl that... it's partly the girl who directed this also, but there's a scene where I'm like, can you tell I'm the bad guy? I'm sitting with 4 guys in leather suits and 1 buff guy watching the door.
Yeah.
And there's 5 gold records on the wall.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh boy, I wonder who's going... Yeah, anytime you have a musical star, you're almost guaranteed that their manager is a piece of just unrelenting horseshit.
And and they do very briefly, the Ashley too, who we'll get to, who we find out is
talking about the robot.
Who we find out, by the way, is secretly a highly dumbed down, press friendly version of Ashley's consciousness.
Yes. It was too hard to make a regular AI, which no, it's not. It was too hard to make a regular AI, and so they just took they copy and pasted Ashley's entire consciousness and put it into a robot, and then only put a filter on it so it only said the stuff they liked.
Yeah,
that's stupid.
It's dumb. And before I talk about how much it's dumb, in a fleeting no, don't go. It's flirting with the idea that we still could talk about us getting over the mom's death, because when Jack, the older daughter, is like, no, I'm playing stuff that you wouldn't understand. Here's 4 bands. Are they foreign? No, it's just stuff that my mom, used to listen to. Oh, so you only like stuff your mom listens to. that was Ashley's sweary, snarky side peeking out of the algorithm.
Well, and I feel like the robot was trying to connect to her. I far more enjoy that scene between the two sisters after Jack throws Ashley away.
Well, that was really fucked up, yeah.
Yeah, and sisters do this. Like, I'm trying to even imagine what would happen if my sister did stuff like this. But yeah, Jack throws Ashley away, and Rachel finally calls her sister out on the carpet, and she's like, you're too busy listening to your stupid, dumb guitar that you'll never be able to play in front of anybody because you're too fucking scared.
What, your way of grieving is better than mine? Eat shit.
And yeah, there was so much potential there.
Yeah.
There was a good episode hiding there, and then it fucking stops when when Miley Cyrus becomes the robot.
We broke the little press junket limiter on her.
Yes.
And Miley Cyrus is swearing up a storm, and Black Mirror becomes a comedy.
Yes.
Because this is showing its roots as a comedy pilot.
Yeah, and so they drive the mouse vehicle over to Miley Cyrus's house to supposedly get some evidence to stop evil manager Ursula from taking over the world or whatever.
And what's the worst is that in the middle of this really Scooby-Doo style, okay, you pretend to be looking for rats, I'm gonna go do some stuff. There's an attempt at a tender scene where Ashley 2 performs assisted suicide on herself.
It's not a tender scene. What the fuck?
No, it could have been if it wasn't surrounded by this Scooby-Doo shit going on downstairs.
I don't think that was a tender scene. I think that was a very shocking and played for shock value.
Okay, tender's not the right word.
No.
But the idea of an AI version of me performing assisted suicide on me,
yes,
that had depth and it could have possibly gone somewhere.
Yes.
But we're doing this comedy sketch that they turn into an episode.
And then Miley Cyrus wakes up, and then we gotta go stop evil Ursula Seawitch from taking over the world.
And we talked...
and we killed a guy. Don't forget we killed a guy.
We killed a guy. Here's the thing. We had a discussion right after this episode. You don't like this. White Bear to you is barely worse.
Barely worse, yes. Because this is not a theme park.
Here's why this is the second, not worse. I have to make my own demons. What bothers me is that this does one of the worst things a Black Mirror episode can do. It can be not good, but also ask some questions that they don't get answered and leave you thinking about that shit the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
What if you had spent more time on that? That's interesting.
Yeah, and then we go and we break up the party, and at the stage show is where John starts losing his mind.
I lose the mind because the worst thing a Black Mirror episode could do is get us talking about you made the comment, nobody's going to want to pay $120 to go see a stream, what is basically something on their screen of a life-size hologram, or even larger than life-size hologram, singing those songs.
And yet we were reading, as we were looking at backgrounds for this episode, people have taken holograms of Prince and all these other artists.
Prince and Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson is probably on his way if they get the rights.
And I haven't done enough research to determine what this is, but I'm just like, I cannot imagine paying $120 to sit in a stadium and watch a video.
But we failed the macaroni test on this episode because we were talking about what does it mean to buy a ticket to an event? Is it because you see the real life thing? Well, this is the real life thing now, so...
Yeah, and how authentic is the relationship that fans have with their pop stars? I'm a full proponent of don't meet your heroes. But I'm just like, how you can't make money this way, not in the same way that modern concerts do. And so what and I was like, oh, what are you arguing here? Like, are you arguing this is the future of the entertainment industry? Are we going to go? No, it's not arguing that. It presents this idea and then immediately just refuses to comment on it.
I would have loved a discussion about what the artifice of the performer and the audience. Bo Burnham's What special. If you haven't seen it, by the way, turn us off now and go watch that. That would have been a really cool thing. It doesn't belong in this episode because there's nowhere near enough time.
No.
But that would have been a fantastic episode.
And so there's just, it's so frustrating when you see seeds of a good episode in here and it's constantly just falling over its own feet.
Here's what bothered me. I think put it on the pile of things that bothered me. Maybe not the most, but there's that discussion after Jack throws away Ashley 2 about, oh, you never paid attention to me because you're too busy listening to your stupid punk bands. And the underlying thing there was, oh, we all grieve in our own way. Don't make fun of me if I want to practice these stupid poppy dances.
Yes.
Hold on to that. My wife had walked away at this point. I'm watching the post-credits scene.
Yeah.
They are at a very kind of a dive bar, and the real Ashley, having woken up, is singing a grunge version of her own song.
Yeah.
With Jack playing bass. Meanwhile, Rachel's at the bar with Ashley too, and they're both headbanging. And just the idea that, oh, when you're not listening to pop music, even the implication that that grunge is somehow more worthy of your time than highly produced pop garbage.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have made that distinction. The show has the ability to be smarter than fake bad, real good.
And it tried to have a fuck yeah moment. But even that it couldn't land because the episode actually ends with Miley Cyrus jumping out of the mouse mobile
and then
flipping off her manager and then the manager turning towards the camera and shouting, well, fuck it. And then it goes to credits.
And you do that. It's like the end of Slumdog Millionaire. Why are we dancing at the end?
Because it's Bollywood.
Okay, well, this is not.
This is not Bollywood.
This is a fun music thing with Miley Cyrus. Not your worst, not your least favorite?
No, White Bear is worse because it has an entire world of non-humans rather than just one.
Rather than just Ursula?
Rather than just Ursula the Sea Witch.
Okay.
But this is bad.
This might be, knowing now that I've just watched it, you see, this tries to be, just because it walks aside a forest of other good ideas, tricks my brain into thinking this is a good episode.
Yeah, and again, there's seeds of good things here. That's what makes this so frustrating.
Yeah. Well, guys, this is probably like a 2.5 hour episode by the time I get it put together, but that is 23 episodes in a movie, babe. How do you feel?
Hey, you know what? I was not excited to do this. I was not in love with the idea of Black Mirror, but we're a married couple and we do things that each other likes, and I respect that.
And you know what? You taught me things about episodes that people just blah about.
And there were some good nuggets in here. Like there were some interesting ideas. Yeah, so it wasn't the like slashing my arm up and down hate fest I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But it's it's some people's cup of tea. It's not mine. But I think I'm glad that like things like this exist, and for their audience, I think Charlie and his team did a good job. Charlie
has been asked, "Are we going to get a season 6 of Black Mirror?" And this is not a joke. He has said, "Let's let the world stop being so sad." And then I'll think about it. The world's too dark for a Black Mirror right now.
Yeah.
But Charlie has accomplished a really satisfying packet of anthologies. It's not 85 very short ones, all like ABCs of Death, and it's not 3 of them packed in a movie each, taking up a big ass chunk.
Yeah.
They're nice with a little bow. They're highly produced. I don't know why I'm giving it credit for that, but I appreciate Netflix for picking up the ball after they dropped it on Channel 4 over in the UK. But that has been 23 episodes in a movie of Netflix's Black Mirror. Join us next time for who knows what. You won't see this for a long time. Oh, something happier.
Something happier.
All right, let's go.
Probably something involving ponies.
Let's go watch some ponies.